It routinely engages foreign embassies to build cases against criminal networks. For now, the 7 remain behind bars, each serving 2 decades. Monke Zikoko, Eyewitness.
Let's stay in the courts. The man accused of torching the Usindiso building in Johannesburg's CBD in 2023 has broken down in tears in court today, saying the charges against him are ruining his life. Sthembiso Mdlalose took to the witness stand in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court today, claiming that he lied about starting the blaze, which killed 76 people. This despite a previous confession where he admitted to starting the deadly inferno. Alfara Mashwana reports.
Sthembiso Mdlalose was asked to read his confession statement in court, in which he detailed how he started the deadly fire. As he read it aloud, he lost composure and broke down in tears, telling the court that everything in the statement is a lie. He then threw the document to the ground and told the presiding judge that he can't be punished for what he claims is a false confession.
Pride and embarrassment. Like right now, I feel so embarrassed that the whole world is watching.
That I lied using such an incident
to save myself from myself.
In what he described as a fight for his life, Mdlalose says he wasn't thinking straight when he confessed twice to starting the blaze. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Palm Ridge.
We shift our focus to the Western Cape now, where Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption is concerned that it's running out of time and might only get testimony from KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in October. The committee is now considering changing its terms of reference to allow it to get evidence from other witnesses before Mkhwanazi, who is listed as the first witness. The committee received a progress report today, while it plans to start its hearings later this month. Babalondenze reports.
The ad hoc committee probing allegations made by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has already written to 7 initial witnesses to organize their appearances and to consult. Evidence leader Advocate Norman Arendse says while people have responded positively, Mkhwanazi can only appear after he's done engaging the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which is working on its own timetable. Mkhwanazi is expected to give his testimony to the Commission for 5 days from the 17th of September before Parliament can get his initial submission.
So that might take another few days. We will then have to make the statement available to honourable members, to the committee, to prepare before he's heard. And that is likely to take us into the first week of October.
Committee Chairperson Soviet Lechanyane says the committee will have to change its terms of reference so it can start with a different witness as it waits for Mkhwanazi to conclude his testimony at the commission. Babalondenze, Eyewitness News.
Residents in Westbury in Johannesburg are calling for a permanent solution to the area's water crisis. The community has been struggling with intermittent supply for weeks now, with taps running completely dry on some days. Angry residents have again taken to the streets today, blocking roads with rocks and burning tires. Earlier, police fired rubber bullets to disperse crowds that gathered for the demonstrations. Jabulile Mbata has more.
Residents in Westbury say their water-related issues are not new, with some saying it's been years since they've had a regular supply of water. The area and nearby communities, including Westdean and Claremont, have had to contend with the water supply cuts in recent weeks. One resident, Walter van der Merwe, says they had no choice but to take to the streets to get the attention of Joburg Water.
A week ago to say that they're going to try and get water to us. They're going to make a plan for us to get water. It was one day. After that one day, it's now nine days without water.
Johannesburg Metro Police are urging motorists to avoid the Westbury area. JMPD spokesperson Xolani Fihla.
The road closures have affected several roads, including major arterial routes such as Fuel Road, Harmony Street, Main Road, Perth Road and Portland Avenue.
There is a heavy police presence in the area and a police helicopter monitoring the scene. Jabulile Mbata, Eyewitness News, Westbury.
And an Israeli-Russian researcher has been released after being held captive since March of 2023. Elizabeth Turkov was delivered to the U.S. Embassy, where she was reunited with her relatives. In a post on Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump says Turkov was released by the Hezbollah group. The group is a powerful Iraqi militia that gets financial and military support from Iran. The United States declared it a terrorist organization in 2009. Gold is trading at $3,647.89 an ounce. The rand is at 17.54 to the dollar, 23.76 to the pound, 20.54 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.97 a barrel.
In Irene, Pretoria, traffic remains sluggish on Almapius Drive approaching Main Road, while in Melrose there's heavy delays on Glen Hove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks. And if you're traveling through the Joburg CBD, that's on the M1 southbound, there's slow-moving traffic between Killarney Bends and the double-decker section.
And in your sport, Coach Hugo Bruce calls out Free State pitch following draw between Bafana and Nigeria in World Cup qualifying. Ada Markram excited to be facing one of the world's best, Sam Curran, and former Olympic silver medalist Shot Puts are handed a 30-month ban.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 28 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Hawks have announced a new investigation after explosive claims that a large-scale Chinese trafficking syndicate is operating in the country.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Very good afternoon, everyone. It's 9 minutes past 3 on Wednesday, September the 10th. This is 702 Drive with me, John Perlman. Wherever you're listening to us in 702 land, welcome to the show. As you heard, water-related protests in many parts of Gauteng this week. Today, the streets of Westbury have been particularly troubled. We'll get an update from that community shortly. And if you live there and have something to say and share, or if you live in any of the other places where there have been protests, Ebony Park comes to mind, please give us a call. Some other stories we're covering. Today is World Suicide Prevention Day. I'm keen to better understand the people who work on the helplines set up to assist people who are dealing with emotional pain. What goes into their training? How do they make sure they don't find themselves triggered perhaps by some of their own experiences? And crucially, after hours and days and possibly weeks, how do they make sure they're looking after their own mental health? More on that after 4. In the Western Cape, there seems to be a serious spike in gang violence on the Cape Flats in particular. Is that actually a real spike, or is it just an old problem getting more coverage and attention? Journalist Karen Dolly, who's written extensively on this issue, joins us at 10 to 4 for her insights. And why is there so much unclaimed money out there? We've dealt with this before, as you might recall, had people on to say the JSE has all this money, pension fund administrators have got all sorts of money, insurance benefits never collected. What on earth is going on, and why is it so difficult to resolve? And more particularly, if you think there might be a check with your name on it or money that belongs to a loved one, how can you safely find out? Because you can be sure there are some scams out there. Minding Your Money with Paul Rudolfser at 10 to 5 will give you some insight and some guidance. We've got all that and a whole lot more on 702 Drive, including breaking news, news from the roads in our regular traffic updates, and the latest from the markets. The JSE taking something of a breather today, trading pretty flat at the moment. Last time I looked, down by 20 points or something, which is not a lot in a global figure of 103,000. A good day for resources, but it's consumer goods company AVI Think Five Roses Tea, Provita, Baker's Biscuits, to name just a few of their products. They're up 4%. Anglo's gained 3%, still surfing some of the momentum from yesterday's merger news. Old Mutual is up by 2.4, DRD Gold by 2.3. On the downside, Italtal has lost 10%. Alphamin is weaker by 7.2. Talking currency, the rand is currently trading at 17 rand 59 against the dollar. That's 8 cents weaker than this time yesterday. 20 rand 57 will get you a euro, a 3-point loss that, and a pound will cost you 23 rand 80. The oil price up 57 points today, currently trading at $67.05 a barrel. Stephen Critters joining us with all the details at 4:25. We'll get sport with Anthony Teixeira and Mbali Dlamini back at 3:30 with the latest news headlines. Traffic with Karabo Chale in just a moment. This is 702 Drive. We're live in the place where you live, and if it's happening in 702 land, you will hear it here first. But if you've got something that we don't know about, a little tweak or an angle on a story we think we've got covered, you get us at these numbers: 072 7021 702 or 011 883 0702. 702 Drive, it's 13 minutes past 3.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
As we always say, we've got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to ask questions about. We've got a lot to think about. And when it comes to thoughts, as we always do, we sometimes take you in the direction of the random, except there may be a good reason why we're about to talk about this. That's because you, Karabo Chale, said we ought to talk about parent-teacher meetings. Have you got one you've just been to, one that's in your diary?
Well, it was just a random thought, just comparing the way my son reacts when I go to his teacher-parents meeting. He always wants to tag along.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, okay, he's so confident about the positive news the teacher is always going to give. And it always comes out to be like that. I think he's a little bit of a teacher's pet, but hey, who am I to complain? With me, I used to dread them. I used to let them go. When I get home, do my homework, and then go to bed as early as I can before they come back with the report, because I was a bit playful,
Yes.
And the teachers always gave that same story. If Karabo concentrated a little bit, he could do a little bit better. But my parents just took it and turned it as in like, you're not concentrating, you're only just playing, and they'll give me this huge lecture when they come back home. So I usually just went to bed before they even arrived.
I'm curious, was the word playful their word or your word? Because I would suspect they may not have said playful, which sounds quite nice. Why are you so playful?
I guess it was more playful because I was just caught at the wrong time, at the wrong place, I guess, because I was, I couldn't contain my laughter when the class clown was acting the fool. So I was always just caught in the act.
Okay.
Yeah.
Playful, naughty, I don't know. Somewhere in between. So, teacher-parents meetings, your experience, both sides of it, you as a kid, you as a parent. And I'm very keen to hear from teachers, by the way, because I can imagine situations where they say, but my child is lovely. What do you mean? You may have them mixed up. I mean, maybe there is a wide gulf between what your children like at home, what they like at school. Rifui Letsua looks at the moment like butter wouldn't melt in her mouth. What happened with you and teacher-parent meetings?
Good afternoon, John, and to the rest of the 702 family. So I had a very suspicious mother.
Okay.
Right? So whenever, I had good grades, top of my class or top 3. And she just thought, no, man, something's just not okay here. Why is it she's always getting like these high marks? Whatever. So she decides one day to ask at the parents' meeting, like, I feel Rifua is not getting enough homework. How is it she's doing this well? She's always loud and reading at home. And then the teachers would say, she's actually a decent learner, you know. And then I started getting extra homework from class, from the teacher. She would mock it and say, okay, great, I'm giving you an extra book to read, and which was great for me. So my mom realized that actually I was a decent student. But something that surprised her, though, John, was that the teacher was saying she was worried that I keep to myself a lot, to which she was that doesn't make sense, because at home she's like the social butterfly. And she was like, but that's weird. So other than that, my mother was just suspicious that I didn't have enough homework. And thanks to her, I had more than enough.
But I mean, look how well you turned out.
Thank you, Mommy.
All that fun you missed, I know, but boy, what a sparkling career it launched you on. So give us a call on 011 8830 702. Teacher-parent meetings, memories as a kid, current experiences as a parent or an adult with a young person in your charge. And teachers, please, how difficult are they for you? I think they're a key part of this equation. And as I said, I can imagine circumstances where you get parents saying, I can't believe that. They are normally so nice. They're certainly nice to us. Anyway, the gap between parents' experience of their lovely, lovely children and yours. Anything you want to share on that regard? 072 702 1702. I have a story to share a little bit later about a blunder I made before a teacher's parent meeting. The stupidity of it is pretty substantial. 17 minutes past 3. Let's get you the very latest news from out on the roads. Karapo Chale, good afternoon.
Well, afternoon, John. In Irene at this stage, traffic sluggish on Nelmapius Drive approaching Main Road, while in Joburg, Melrose, traffic heavily backed up on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1. Driving through Bloemfontein, heading towards the Joburg CBD Boysons area, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the M1 southbound from Killarney Benz all the way to the double-decker section. Also slow-moving traffic in the Wadeville-Germiston area. This is on Osborne Road approaching the N12. And finally in Protea Glen, there's a slow-moving traffic. This is on the N12 westbound between the R554 Abu Bakr Drive and the R558. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Panyaza Lesotho announced the other day that they are going to go to informal settlements, most of which are inundated with illegal foreign nationals. Do you support the idea of actually going out to informal settlements where you know they are mostly illegal immigrants and take them to Lindela and they must be taken home?
We support the idea of removing people that are illegally occupying spaces that they're not supposed to be occupying. But then also it should not just be for show. It should not just be a 5 minutes thing that, you know, we are seen to be doing something for the camera, but after a week or two or a month, we're back to square one because then we haven't done anything.
Solim Simanga.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
The South African Future Trust Summit is fast approaching. This premium entrepreneurial showcase will return to the Sandton Convention Centre on 5 and 6 November with international and local speakers sharing groundbreaking insights from their entrepreneurial journeys. It's an unmatched opportunity to network with like-minded entrepreneurs, innovators, investors, and change makers. With 2,000 plus delegates and over 200 exhibitors all under one roof, come and experience the extraordinary world of thriving entrepreneurs and business owners. Avoid missing out. Get your ticket now for 1,000 Rand each, 800 Rand each for the 2 days at summit.southafricanfuturetrust.org in partnership with 702.
One festival, endless flavor, and 2 unforgettable days of timeless music. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star, returns on 20 and 21 September at Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. On Saturday, the stage erupts with Don Tolliver, Questa, and Nkabi Zezwe. Then on Sunday, experience the legendary Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Lyra, and more. The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
In ancient Corinth, as Alexander the Great approached the philosopher Diogenes and offered to grant him any wish, Diogenes simply replied, "Stand a little out of my sun." At Plus 94 Research, we believe in illuminating the path to informed decisions. By removing the shadows of uncertainty, we let the light of data-driven insights shine through. Don't let assumptions cloud your vision. Step into the light of clarity. Plus 94 Research, the science of decision-making.
At Trinity House, authentic Christian values empower our students to succeed together.
Together, with passionate teachers and expert coaches, we support your child in reaching their full potential in the classroom and in life. Join us for our open day on Saturday, 13 September from 9 to 12 at our campuses in Centurion, Glen Vista, Rand Park Ridge and Little Falls. RSVP now at trinityhouse.co.za. Trinity House, succeeding together.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
21 minutes past 3. Let's pick up now on a story that's been prominent in our news bulletins. Once again, the man who at one point confessed to setting the blaze that killed 76 people in August 2 years ago, the Usindiso building fire, is the building in question, is now claiming that he was coerced into taking the blame. As I understand it, I think he's made these claims before, but it is back front and center in the hearing as Stembiso Mdlalose addressed the court yet again today. Alpha Ramoshwana, our EWN colleague, has been following this story from early days and joins us now. Alpha, my recollection, as I said a moment ago, this has been raised by Mr. Mdlalose before. Is he saying anything now that's different?
Good afternoon, John. Yes, it was quite a dramatic day in court, in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court today. You're correct. Stembiso Mdlalose has said it multiple times before that he was coerced into taking the blame for the deadly fire that killed 76 people in Johannesburg CBD in 2023. And he said that at the time he was under duress, he was forced by a Tanzanian drug lord he worked for at the time, and he also alleged that he was under the influence of drugs when he made the confession. And you'd remember that he had initially tried to retract the confession in court, but the court dismissed his application to have the very same confession declared inadmissible. So today he came to court and gave a little bit more detail, John, but now says that everything that was in that confession, which he wrote down twice, was all a lie. And he said he lied about starting the fire because he was tired of being homeless. He broke down in court and said that he thought he'd find shelter, he'd find a home in prison, instead of just being on the streets and ruining his life by selling drugs, ruining his life by running errands for the so-called drug lord that he was working for at the time. So the detail that he gave today, quite dramatically actually, was that he was tired of being homeless and he chose to take the blame so that he can have shelter in prison.
What do you make of this? I mean, obviously you're not going to pronounce on a court case that's still in progress, but it really is getting quite complicated now. At one point it appeared to be clear-cut.
Yeah, I mean, when the trial started, both the states, I'm pretty sure, and the defense thought it would be a really quick trial because there were two confessions which he had made, and the state would base their case on those confessions. But he then tried to retract the confession, saying he was under duress, saying that he wasn't sober-minded. I mean, you would know that the Criminal Procedure Act says that any confession that is made under the influence or not made voluntarily can be deemed and ruled inadmissible in court. And he tried to do that, but it failed in court. And now he's giving more detail about why he allegedly lied about starting the fire. He's giving more detail about what led him to lie, as he claimed. So it doesn't seem like it's going to be an easy trial anymore. It doesn't seem like it's going to be a quick trial. It might take a lot more time. I mean, he's back next week for a cross-examination.
Yes.
And the defense also is expected to call more witnesses to the stand to come and try to prove that Stembiso Mdlalose wasn't behind that fire. So it seems at this stage that it's going to continue dragging and dragging.
Thank you very much. Alpha Ramoshwana updating us on that Usindiso fire court case. 25 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Okay, let's focus our attention now on the southwest side of Johannesburg. Substantial protests on the streets of Westbury. You may recall last week we had a conversation with residents from nearby Coronationville, and you guessed it, the problem is water. No water supply for weeks and weeks on end, and some people are telling us it's been months. So the residents on the street again, but what's happening in the margins? Are there any solutions being proposed at all? Let's welcome to 702 Drive our EWN colleague, another one, Jabulile Mbata. Jabulile, you've been out in Westbury today. As residents take to the streets, I assume leadership is meeting in the margins of the protest, talking to the authorities. Are there any signs of anything that represents a lasting solution, or is it all about water tankers and, pretty much Band-Aid?
Good afternoon, John. Yes, the residents are quite frustrated because there doesn't seem to be a long-lasting solution being proposed, especially by Joburg Water. And I say this very carefully because we have engaged Joburg Water to ask them, what is the solution? What is the problem even? Because I think the people on the ground just want to understand what's wrong. And the answers that we've received from Joburg Water include them saying that there's just so much pressure on the system because there's so many people. And you'll understand in Johannesburg, informal settlements keep mushrooming, which then also creates a problem because you'll also have people connecting their water illegally. But as for a long-term solution, we don't know yet. We're hoping that soon Joburg Water will brief the residents, which is one of the things they were actually saying today, that it would be nice to actually have an official from the entity come to the ground and say these and explain to them in a way they can understand. And unfortunately, that didn't happen.
So, Jabulile, it's clear, I think, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, but certainly the impression I'm getting is this has very strong community support. Is it coordinated by a single structure, or are there different groups? I know we've heard from different people, but I'm not sure who, if it leads to a sit-down and negotiations. Is there a clear leadership structure on the resident side?
So we've heard from some community leaders, because we have been covering the story for months. Actually, it's not the first time that the area of Westbury, Coronationville, Westdene is facing such problems. But we do have some community leaders who actually write to Joburg Water, so they would be the relevant people to really sit down with, because they have a paper trail. They know what's really happening. It's not just a thing of when there's a protest, then they show up. It is well coordinated. We have some leaders, community leaders, who are, bringing themselves forward and saying they want to engage. One of them is a lady named Melissa Davids. She's very involved in the talks with Joburg Water, and, she's still also calling for some answers.
Thank you very much, Jabulile Mbata, keeping us informed on what's happening out in Westbury, as she mentioned, and obviously relevant. This is a story they've been covering for months. This is a problem that has persisted for a long time, and I did ask you for your contributions. Let's hear a couple.
Good afternoon, Mr. John. Mr. John, I'm worried about the behavior of the SAPS here. I don't know whether it's political or what. When last have you seen a helicopter hovering over people who are protesting? What is the motive? I'm now beginning to realize that whenever there is something around areas where it's not the ANC stronghold, the punishment is so harsh. I'm not sure about that. You can also look at that.
Hi, John. It's Lisa from Westdene. Yeah, we've had protests in our area, streets blocked off, but quite frankly, if I didn't have to go to work, I would have joined the protests, because we've had very little water supply in the last 3 weeks. No answers about permanent solutions from anybody. Our ward councillor has just as little to say as everybody else. It's been very, very trying. Something I did want to point out, that I saw a news article that police had, I've seen footage of police firing rubber bullets on citizens with their hands up. And I saw an article that said an 81-year-old man had been killed by rubber bullets and another protester injured and taken to hospital. But I didn't hear that on your news bulletin. So I'm just wondering if your news could check up on that. That was in Westbury or Coronationville. Thanks.
Thank you for those contributions. Again, if you live out in Westbury or anywhere else where there are water protests, please do give us a call on 011 883 0702 or 072 702 1702. It's 29 minutes to 4. Mbali Dlamini with the very latest news, starting, I believe, down in KZN. Mbali.
That's correct, John. A very good afternoon. The wife of the man who was shot and killed by police in KwaZulu-Natal this morning has accused officers of foul play. Ayanda Manyu died in a shootout with police in the early hours of this morning. Police say Manyu was wanted in connection with the murder of a police officer. His wife was the first person on the scene and alleges that officers intentionally killed her husband. Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
I know for sure that he would have not shot at the police officers because he's not a killer. And the way I found him lying there shows that he was actually running away. It's painful because he's leaving children behind. It was all I had.
Buyisile Magwaza strongly believes police planned to kill her husband, Ayanda Manyu. She says in the early hours of this morning, they heard gunshots outside their home, and shortly afterwards, Manyu left for work. That's when she says he was shot and killed. Magwaza has questioned the police's behavior.
They should have arrested him. I'm sure that he didn't shoot at them because I know how his gun sounds like. I've went with him to the shooting range. Only high caliber shots went off at that scene.
Police say when officers arrived at the scene to arrest Manyu, they were shot at and then returned fire in self-defense. Police watchdog IPID was on the scene and is also investigating circumstances surrounding the incident. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, KwaNgqolosi, west of Durban.
In Johannesburg, ambulances going to Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital in Coronationville are being diverted this afternoon as a result of protest action over water shortages in the area. Frustrated residents have taken to the streets today, blocking roads with rocks and burning tires. The community says it has been without water for weeks now and is calling for urgent intervention. Earlier today, private security and police fired rubber bullets at demonstrators who then retaliated by throwing stones. Health Department spokesperson Mutaletale Mudiba says traffic to the local hospital has been affected.
It does have an impact. It's making it difficult for our employees and the public to access the hospital. There are protests.
And in a step towards sustainable transport and a cleaner energy future nationwide, Eskom has launched its first fleet of electric vehicles. Led by its distribution division, the initiative follows the utility's August 2024 milestone of installing 10 charging stations across 5 sites. The launch event featured interactive demonstrations and test drives highlighting some of the benefits like lower emissions, reduced operating costs and improved efficiency. Tandoluhle Ngcobo has the details.
Eskom has initially received 20 electric vehicles, which include a variety of light delivery vehicles and light trucks. Spokesperson Daphne Mokoena says another 100 vehicles is scheduled to arrive soon.
These vehicles will be deployed primarily in the distribution and generation divisions.
The organization says its vision is to gradually transition its entire fleet to electric vehicles, with the distribution division, which has the largest vehicle footprint, targeting full electrification by 2035. The power utility says it's also prioritizing the nation's grid readiness for e-mobility, including integrating EV load forecasting into long-term planning to effectively manage increased electricity demand. Tandoluhle Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 28 degrees.
Driving through Melrose, Rosebank area, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1, while in Braamfontein, there's also slow-moving traffic. M1 South between Killarney Paints and the double-decker section. Wadeville, Germiston, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Osborne Road between Dekema and the N12.
The top story in EWN, the wife of the man who was shot and killed by KZN police this morning has accused officers of foul play.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
How worried are you about this being a deterrent to people seeking justice and coming to court?
Absolutely worried about that very, very much, because our whole constitutional democracy rests on 3 big pillars: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. If people are afraid to be approaching the judicial arm of the state in a constitutional democracy, that's a very, very, very big problem.
Deputy Minister Andries Nels.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Every day, South Africans are being squeezed to make ends meet. That's why there's Still Good, a new online platform where you can save up to 65% on groceries by buying Still Good value bags. Packed with groceries by leading retailers that are still perfectly good, just close to their sell-by date. You win by saving, retailers win by cutting food waste, and communities win as Still Good donates 10% of their earnings to food charities. Visit stillgood.co.za. Start getting more bang for your buck with Still Good.
The team's on a roll today. Let me focus on payroll. Duty calls in the kitchen. That's why I have a business insurer that is agile and on the ball all the time on all things. I chose My Way Business Insurance, getting 24/7 emergency service and saving on my premiums, plus my business assist to handle my admin.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
Ready, jet, go! 2 fully paid trips to the Abu Dhabi Motor Racing Spectacular must be won in the thrilling new JetX competition exclusive to Hollywood Bets. An unforgettable experience awaits on one of the fastest circuits on the planet, with the world's top drivers battling for supremacy. To stand a chance to win, bet 10 Rand or more on JetX. 1 million Rand in cash is also up for grabs. Hollywood Bets. Fly higher with our multiplier.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counselling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. So I'm a teacher, and funny enough, I just left a teacher parent meeting, and I must say that that learner is really giving us hell. He really cannot behave, but you know what? The parent was like, you know what? I'm also trying at home to discipline him. So it seems like at home he behaves better, but at school he's just a clown. It just makes the whole environment to be unbearable, and it has been happening across the board. So it's quite an interesting thing, and we have really tried to even talk about him seeking professional assistance, like seeing a psychologist or something of that sort, so that they can be able to help him, because wow, he makes waking to just be unbearable. Anyway, great show as always. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, Tate John. When I was in school, my parent-teacher meetings were always excellent because I was one of the top 5 students in the school. So it was always stellar reviews, always good positive feedback, nothing to worry about. My mom was even like one of the most popular parents in the school because of that. And now I have a 2-year-old, and we've had maybe 3 parent-teacher meetings, and I'm that mom that asks a gazillion questions. So I prompt the teachers for a lot of things that they probably don't even think of until they meet with me, and then they start ensuring that they have answers for the same for all of the other parents in the class. So I'm on top of things. And he's only 2 years old, so he's got a long way to go with me.
Yeah, if you missed us earlier in the show, we were just asking about parent-teacher meetings. I don't know if this is the time of year for them, though. I mean, could be too late. Happened already?
Usually it's like every term, so
okay,
it's
they're
still
regular.
coming. Yeah, right now they're writing
man.
exams, so every term we have one of those.
Okay. But well, you know, whether you want to reflect on your time as a kid and, you know, your anxiety when your folks headed off or whoever was looking after you, and then, you know, maybe you are looking after young people yourself and you've got to go to the meetings. And I want to hear from teachers as well. Give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. It's 20 to 4.
EWN Sport.
So Bafana, Anthony Teixeira doing the business last night. I was impressed. I think they looked pretty composed.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. Honestly, it was quite a special evening for Bafana because not only did they look brilliant in those opening 15, 20 minutes, then defensively, absolutely solid throughout it. But yeah, they continue to remain top of their World Cup qualifying group. 3 points clear of Benin, who beat Lesotho 4-0 on Tuesday evening. Earlier in the evening, we had seen South Africa hold on for a 1-1 draw against Nigeria at the Free State Stadium. Coach Hugo Bruce has once again hit out at the pitch and called on SAFA to next time select a stadium that will allow his team to play their best football.
I don't want to repeat what I said to the people from this pitch. We also need a good pitch to play football. And it was not possible today. We tried it and we did it the first half hour. But when you play against an opponent like this on such a pitch, it's very difficult. The next time we have to be a little bit careful to choose our stadium. Be sure that the people who maintain the pitch know what we would like to have.
Cape Verde are 1 win away from qualifying for a first ever World Cup in the country's history. They shot Cameroon 1-0 and need just 3 points from their next 2 fixtures next month against Libya and Eswatini. In cricket, the Proteas start their 3-match T20 series against England this evening. The English announced their squad, with the biggest surprise being the addition of Sam Curran at the number 5 after last appearing for the Three Lions in November 2024. T20 Proteas captain Aidan Markram spoke on the all-rounders inclusion.
Yeah, I mean, he's got lots of experience now. He's been playing lots of short format cricket for quite a few years. So he brings that experience in, and obviously his skill set. We've seen him with the bat and with the ball in the 100 now most recently, and the things that he's able to do. So another big player for them, and it's always nice to front up against some of the big players around the world.
First ball expected at 7:30, and ending with athletics. Women's shot put silver medalist at the Tokyo Olympics Raven Saunders has accepted a 30-month ban from the US anti-doping agency. The 29-year-old failed 3 whereabouts check-ins throughout 2024. Saunders was part of the registered testing pool, which mandates officials to know where athletes' locations are for testing. It's the second whereabouts failure ban for the shot putter, who already served an 18-month ban between 2022 and 2024. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Okay, so it's relatively early in rush hour, but it's never too early to remind you that you could find yourself getting a little slowed down or even stuck. Karabo Charlie, where are the snags?
Well, I must say, traffic building up across 702 land at this hour. If you're in the Braamfontein area, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 southbound. This is between Killarney Bends and the double-decker section. Melrose, you can now expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks. Protea Glen also expect about a 20-minute delay. N12 westbound from the R554 Abu Bakr Drive all the way to the R558 in Ekurhuleni, Waiteville, Germiston area. There's heavy delays. This is on Osborne Road between Dekema and the N12. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. So we've been asking you about teacher meetings, memories from when you were younger, or things that are happening to you right now. Give us a call about that on 011 883 0702. Anthony Teixeira, did you dread them? Did you ask to go along? Did you leave the house?
Honestly, I eventually found that it was a waste of time. If I'm being totally honest. Because from grade 9 through to matric, I always got the same remarks from basically every single teacher, which is that he's disruptive, and if he tried a little harder, he'd be getting better marks. Where you're like, yeah, I know, but I just need to pass. And if I'm just passing, then it feels like it's success to me. If I'm doing enough to just make it to the next grade, doing enough to get into varsity, doing just enough to do what's next, it felt like I was thriving and succeeding. And so what was the point of these conferences? Because you're just going to try to make me look bad. I'm going to defend myself, and my mom's going to be sitting there thinking, oh, and just keep quiet, just leave it.
Yes.
And so eventually it's just a waste of time.
So, I mean, you were disruptive, but I mean, Karabo Charlie, he was playful. I mean, disruptive sounds way worse, even though you were both doing the same thing.
Yeah, we were both kicked out of class, I bet you, watching from the outside.
I guess I put it in a lighter way, playful. Yeah, I guess maybe I was a bit disruptive.
So let me tell you a story about my stupidity in regard to a parents-teachers meeting. I'm in grade 7, and I don't know why, but me and another guy, we said, you know what? Let's miss school. Let's just bunk school. So we walk out. We're in our school uniforms, which is stupidity number one. We hitchhike into the city. Here comes stupidity number two. We have no money. Between us, we do not have 1 cent. So we've got a day to kill time in Johannesburg and be back kind of in the general area of the school, but not at the school.
Yeah.
So as you can imagine, a boring time was had by all. But here's the really stupid part. It was the parents-teachers meeting that night. So quite obviously the teachers were going to say, and we do hope John gets better. I said, what do you mean, hope he gets better? Anyway, stupid.
Oh, wow.
Stupid, but I live to tell the tale. What's your tale? Tell it to us, 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. And again, repeating myself, but I am keen to hear from teachers about what those interactions are like for you. It's coming up now for 13 minutes to 4.
Hi, Tante John. So regarding the parents-teacher meeting, for me it was so nerve-wracking because I was never the best behaved child, if I could call myself that back then. The only thing that I could use to justify my bad behavior was the fact that I was passing, and I was passing well. So I wasn't dumb. My bad behavior was justified by the fact that my work was always done. So my work was always done. I was always doing everything that is needed to be done. So when you've got kids that are not doing their work, what am I supposed to do? Interrupt the class in the interim, and that's what I was busy doing. Unfortunately, now that I'm grown, I actually feel terrible about that, and I'm very scared because I always sit down and think, Lord, please have mercy on me because my kids cannot behave the way that I used to behave because I do not know how teachers coped around with me. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I mean, there's the thing, hey, all the things you did, and you got to ask your children to stop doing. They're probably listening to that voice note and are ready to hold you to account. 12 minutes to 4.
John Perlman
On 702.
3 to 6 p.m.
Well, violence today in the Western Cape community of Kraaifontein, as I understand it, has left at least 6 people dead. And over many weeks, and it's probably months as well, there have been reports of what seems to be an escalation in gang-related violence in the Western Cape. But is it in fact an escalation? And if so, what's driving it? Or is it merely greater national attention on a problem that people living in those communities have lived with for a long time? Let's get some perspective from Karen Dolly, award-winning journalist from Daily Maverick. Karen, a very good afternoon to you. I'm just looking at a piece that you've written today. We've got the acting police minister saying that intelligence plans to tackle Cape Town gang violence are, quote, still not fully in place. Do you and the communities that you interact with and the people you know believe that, A, there is an intelligence plan with any substance and credibility, whether it's in place or not? Or do you think the police are still grappling and somewhat in vain with a problem they've never ever really managed to solve?
So I think a bit of both is true, that there is an intelligence plan. It may not be complete, it may not be comprehensive, and if this plan exists, I'm glad that I don't know about it because it should be secret. We shouldn't be privy to it. At the same time, this has been happening for decades. People have been murdered in shootings, in gang violence for decades. We know the Western Cape and Cape Town has a gang problem. This has been the case since, as I've written today, since pre-democracy. So it's a little bit shocking to hear that there isn't a full intelligence plan in place. Like, it could mean that because of crime evolving, police are adapting, and that's why it isn't in place. But regardless of that, people are dying, and I will go so far as to say on a daily basis, and that is a crisis, a problem.
Karen, is there any kind of spike at the moment? And I'm not sure how one would measure it. I mean, you would, I assume, have rhythms where some communities go a little bit quieter and then become as turbulent and tragic as they can be. Or is it just that there's greater attention being paid?
So that's always the confusing one, because the police release quarterly crime statistics, official crime statistics. So in between, unless we get police statements, it's not quite clear what's happening. But it is fair to say that this violence is sort of, it ebbs and flows. And I mean, for example, if we have a shooting somewhere and there's a retaliatory shooting, that will spark other incidents. So yes, it does change. It does sort of fluctuate. And the saddest part is that despite the fluctuating, it's still consistent.
Karen, a question I suppose related, but with a different focus. I mean, as something that you are intimately connected to, but also you've analysed and written about, have there been instances where, even though there isn't a solution to the province and city metro-wide problem, but where a community has come up with something that has really had traction and maybe quietened the guns for a while? I mean, are there lessons out there, models that might give us at least some hope?
There are several models, and I think it's unfair to say that police aren't doing anything or they don't have a plan. We've seen firearms being removed and seized, confiscated. We've seen sort of what you could call peace talks, although some people will say you should never or not communicate with gang members, but there have been peace talks in the past where a sort of like a ceasefire is agreed to. But I think beneath all that, there are issues that need to be dealt with. And I hate using the words root causes, but
Yes.
there are fundamental issues beneath all this that needs to be dealt with the same vigor as killings should be tackled.
Give us what you consider to be the most important root causes. I mean, I'd imagine there's a good number, but if you were to pick top 3 or whatever to focus on and solve, where would you start?
I would start with looking at the way people are living, where gang violence is sort of concentrated. But at the same time, before I go down that route, that verbal route, I want to point out that there's also the flip side to this, which is still gangsterism. And we're not necessarily seeing so much violence clustered around it, but that's the sort of white-collar aspect,
Yes.
the businesses, etc. So it's so difficult to say, okay, I'd start here. I would absolutely want, and I'm going to sound a little like a politician here, but a holistic approach where you tackle the causes and not just foot soldiers and people running around with guns, but the people who are channeling the guns to those individuals, the people who are funding these crimes which inevitably trickle down and cause immense trauma.
Karen, I mean, in the books you've read, and we've mentioned them to the listeners, Man Alone, To the Wolves, The Enforcers, whatever theme you've tracked in that part of the country, you've highlighted, as well as in your work at Daily Maverick, the involvement of some police people in organized crime for a start, but also in gangsterism and in the arming of the foot soldiers of these gangs. How much does that prevent police and community members working together on something they can both buy into? How deep do the roots of mistrust go?
Sure. I can answer you in decades because I don't know any way to answer it, but the roots are decades old.
Yes.
And I think, like we will see next week with the Madlanga Commission into the KwaZulu-Natal police boss's accusations about criminality within law enforcement, perhaps we will get a better understanding of how vast this mistrust truly is. Because aside from us as residents external to the police service, perhaps having very feelings of distrust towards the police, those feelings are internal as well. So I'm glad we will see perhaps some retrospection on the one hand, because that can also help us figure out how deep our personal distrust goes.
And Karen, maybe just a different tack and possibly a last thought. I mean, I've heard it said that it's a mistake to imagine that all community member relationships with gangs are conflictual, that there have been some gang leaders, for example, who take a wider view of the waters in which they swim and have stepped in and have, offered help, supported local sports clubs or whatever, and have created at least an ambivalence, at the very least, that community members feel towards them, because even though they may recognize the destructive and dangerous nature of what they do, they also see them as people who can actually, even if it's in small and temporary ways, make their lives better. Is that a big factor?
I would say so, and I've actually referenced it in my book To the Wolves, and I call it the Robin Hood effect. And that, again, really sort of should make us focus on what needs to be done to help each other, okay? And if I just remove all the politics and stuff, I can't imagine what it's like to not have food. Well, I can imagine,
yes,
but it's not the reality. And I can't imagine what it's like to sit without food and someone gives me something. Do I take it if I have children, full well knowing that I'm taking it from someone who is perceived as bad by others? And I use the word perceived because even though the person is bad, it may come across as a mere perception to someone who is in desperate need of work, of food, etc. So again, that is an absolute horrific sort of byproduct of gangsterism, and gangsters thrive off. But again, it highlights failures elsewhere, where things should structurally change, how people are living, the way they're living, why they are living in specific areas, decades after these areas were classified as for certain people. And we can't ignore the fact that a lot of the violence being experienced in Cape Town is in the so-called Cape Flats, which were apartheid's dumping grounds. So these are deep-rooted, deep problems.
Karen Dolly, many thanks. An award-winning journalist. Read her work on Daily Maverick. And I mentioned the names of her 3 books, all really important works looking at criminality and its context, as well as corruption and confusion in the police force. Books well worth reading. And as I said, she writes regularly for Daily Maverick, 702 Drive.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
A family secret around the paternity of a child is allegedly at the center of a deadly hostage situation in Pretoria. 32-year-old police constable Tapelo Mashego held his mother and nephew hostage for 16 hours yesterday in their Mamelodi home. He shot his 18-year-old nephew and then turned the gun on himself.
He said he found out that the child he has with his girlfriend is not his, but is his brother's.
EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent.
Brush, stroke, paint, color, protect, and admire. From roof paint to exterior textures and interior silk, Warrior Paints has it all. The product range and stylish colors are amazing. And what's more, Warrior Paints has crushed prices for incredible savings. Enjoy that good old-fashioned personal service you deserve. For price, quality, variety, and service, Warrior Paints is streets ahead. Warrior Paints, affordable, lasting luxury.
Let's count backward. 5, insurance. 4, pineapple. 3, insurance. 2, pineapple. 1, you're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Dreaming of your next getaway? Whether it's a sun-soaked beach escape, adventure-packed tour, or luxury cruise, Flight Centre is your go-to for travel. From flights and hotels to tours and cruises, we've got it all. Plus travel insurance for peace of mind. If you want the best deals, you can save more by taking advantage of our Bundle Plus Save offer. Plan your trip today at your nearest Flight Centre store or visit flightcentre.co.za. Flight Centre, your centre for travel.
This is EWN.
Authorities to probe fresh allegations of a trafficking syndicate in the country, and Parliament's Police Ad Hoc Committee concerned about anticipated delays. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The Hawks have announced a new investigation after explosive claims that a large-scale Chinese trafficking syndicate is operating in the country. The commitment came on the sidelines of sentencing, where 7 Chinese nationals were each handed a 20-year jail term for human trafficking, kidnapping and forced labor. The group, who operated under the company Beautiful City, were linked to the kidnappings of 91 Malawians, 37 of whom were children, forced to work in a Joburg factory in 2019. Mongezi Koko reports.
In this country, in this town.
Courtroom drama broke out after the verdict when the daughter of accused number 6, Nancy Chow, alleged that her family had been framed. She claimed a kingpin is the real mastermind running a syndicate that brings illegal foreigners into the country. Now the Hawks say they are taking her allegations seriously. They confirmed the investigating officer is in contact with Chow. Spokesperson Katlego Mogale.
And we will follow up on the information that she brings forward. We are in contact with Home Affairs in order to ascertain when and how the person entered the country.
Mogale added that the unit routinely engages foreign embassies to build cases against criminal networks. For now, the 7 remain behind bars, each serving 2 decades. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
Let's stay in the courts. The man accused of torching the Usindiso building in Johannesburg's CBD in 2023 has broken down in tears in court today, saying the charges against him are ruining his life. Sthembiso Mdlalose took to the witness stand in the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court today, claiming that he lied about starting the blaze, which killed 76 people. This is despite a previous confession where he admitted to starting the deadly inferno. Farah Mushwana reports.
Sthembiso Mdlalose was asked to read his confession statement in court, in which he detailed how he started the deadly fire. As he read it aloud, he lost composure and broke down in tears, telling the court that everything in the statement is a lie. He then threw the document to the ground and told the presiding judge that he can't be punished for what he claims is a false confession.
Pride and embarrassment. Like right now, I feel so embarrassed that the whole world is watching.
That I lied using such an incident
to save myself from myself.
In what he described as a fight for his life, Mdlalose says he wasn't thinking straight when he confessed twice to starting the blaze. Alpha Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Palm Ridge.
We shift our focus to this now. Parliament's ad hoc committee investigating police corruption is concerned it may only get testimony from KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in October. The committee is now considering changing its terms of reference to allow it to get evidence from other witnesses before Mkhwanazi, who is listed as the first witness. The committee received a progress report today as it plans to start its hearings later this month. Babalo Ndenze has more.
The ad hoc committee probing allegations made by Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi has already written to 7 initial witnesses to organize their appearances and to consult. Evidence leader Advocate Norman Arendse says while people have responded positively, Mkhwanazi can only appear after he's done engaging the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry, which is working on its own timetable. Mkhwanazi is expected to give his testimony to the Commission for 5 days from the 17th of September before Parliament can get his initial submission.
So that might take another few days. We will then have to make the statement available to honourable members, to the committee, to prepare before he's heard. And that is likely to take us into the first week of October.
Committee Chairperson Sovet Lechanyane says the committee will have to change its terms of reference so it can start with a different witness as it waits for Mkhwanazi to conclude his testimony at the commission. Babalo Ndenze, Eyewitness News.
Let's stay in Parliament, where International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola expects more countries to soon support South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Lamola briefed Parliament today on the country's case to find Israel guilty of contravening the Roman Statute on Genocide. Several countries, including Brazil, Spain and the Republic of Ireland, have already asked to intervene in the case against Israel. Carlo Peterson reports.
International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says national government has taken proactive steps to engage with other states to support the cause of the Palestinian people. Lamola told the Portfolio Committees on International Relations and Cooperation and Justice DIRCO is not only dealing with the matter on a legal platform.
Even at the AU level,
South Africa continues to mobilize member states of the African Union to support this cause.
Lamola says countries in the West are also starting to support the case.
We are also welcoming the fact that there are also other countries, even in the West, which are beginning to now see this through the eyes of South Africa. And they have done so in the last engagement of the recognition of a Palestinian state.
Brazil recently indicated its intention to support South Africa's case, along with 14 other countries against Israel. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And Rwanda has dismissed as stupid a campaign by the Democratic Republic of the Congo for the United Nations to recognize a genocide against its people in the country's east. Earlier this year, the M23 armed group swept through eastern DRC, seizing parts of the mineral-rich territory that has been plagued by deadly violence for more than 3 decades now. The offensive saw M23 fighters capture key cities, killing and displacing thousands of people, which the UN labelled as a humanitarian crisis. Gold is trading at $3,648.21 an ounce. The rand is at 17.50 to the dollar, 23.78 to the pound, 20.54 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.97 a barrel.
In Melrose, you can still expect about a 20-minute delay on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1. Travelling through Braamfontein, traffic heavily backed up on the M1 southbound between Killarney Bends and the double-decker section. And in Bryanston, travelling towards Four Ways, there's a slow-moving traffic. That's on the N1 southbound between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive.
And in your sport, Proteas to test combinations in T20 series against England with a look towards next year's T20 World Cup. Ethan Hooker credits centre duo for settling in the Springbok camp, and Volta Espana still to end in Madrid despite protests.
A fine Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 13 degrees, peaking at 28. Pretoria 14 and 32, and Vereeniging 13 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The Hawks have announced a new investigation following explosive claims that a large-scale Chinese trafficking syndicate is operating in the country.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's good to have you with us on the show. 8 minutes past 4, and lots of interesting stuff coming up in the next hour. We've had a number of conversations on this show, and I think elsewhere on 7:02 as well, about literally billions of rand in unclaimed money, pension fund benefits and other financial entitlements that have never been collected. We're going to talk to Paul Rulofse in our Minding Your Money feature. And he's going to talk to us at 10 to 5 about how you could go about finding out whether some of that money might either be yours or money that could go to a loved one who could definitely do with the cash. That's coming up, as I said, at 10 to 5. Today is World Suicide Prevention Day. We're going to focus our attention on the people who act and serve in trying to deal with this by manning helplines for people who are facing depression and anxiety. What kind of preparation and training do they get? What kind of debriefing do they get? I can't believe that what they have to deal with and talk about is something that they can just simply walk away from at the end of a shift. Lebohang Mokwena is with the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Lebohang is volunteer training coordinator, and we are going to talk to Lebohang fairly shortly about that. We asked you some questions about parent-teacher meetings, anything you've remembered, and a lot of you are wanting to comment on the water protest situation all over Gauteng, but in particular focused today on the southwest Joburg communities of Westbury and Coronationville. They have been dealing with this problem for months. That's story coming up in just a moment. It's 10 minutes past 4.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
John, this is the ripple effect of what the illegal immigration does. Services get worn out. People end up not getting their services that's due to them, where illegal immigration is causing this problem, and you are actually denying to actually see the reality of this problem. SA Human Rights does not say anything about these things when South African citizens are being inconvened about services. So let us get our facts straight about illegal immigration. They are a burden on our infrastructure.
Good afternoon, Grootman. Good afternoon to you and your team there. It's not Westbury only, Grootman. Ebony Park in Midrand has been it's on its second day of strike. The community have shut down everything. You can't access the place. You can't get out. I couldn't see my mother now for the past 2 days because you can't access the place. You can't get out. It is because of water supply. I know that they've been having water supply problems for more than 3 years now, but it's been worse. In the last 3 weeks, water has been coming back at 3 a.m. in the morning and then going at 5 a.m. So you only have 2 hours to get water for the past full 3 weeks or 4 weeks, Grootman. So Joburg Water needs to get its act together. It cannot be life as usual, just like that. Life goes on like that. These people struggle with water, and water is an essential part of their lives.
Yeah, thank you for that update from Ebony Park. I did mention it earlier. If you live in the community, the caller suggesting that he connects with the community because his mom lives there. But if you actually live there, you may want to call in so we cover that particular struggle as well. 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. It's 12 minutes past 4.
EWN Traffic.
This EWN Traffic is brought to you by Cars.coza. Let's find what moves you. Problems in Melrose, I believe. Karabo Chale joins us with the details.
Yeah, if you're driving through there, John, at this stage, you can expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on Glenhove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to roadworks. Also in the Bryanston area, traffic remains sluggish. N1 southbound, that's heading towards Four Ways between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. While in Braamfontein, heading towards the Joburg CBD, heading towards Boysens, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 southbound between Killarney Bends and the double-decker section. Protea Glen, Soweto, traffic pressure N12 westbound between the R554 Abu Bakr Drive and the R558. And in the Waiteville, Germiston area, you can expect heavy delays on Osborne Road between Dekema and the N12. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. Majestic handling. A V8
Cars.coza.
horsepower that is...
Cars.coza.
This is very annoying. I'm trying to read a car radio advertisement.
Whatever car you want to buy or sell, cut through the and just go to Cars.coza and let's find what moves you. Cars.coza.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Maboja. 1 to 3 p.m.
There was this personal finance for entrepreneurs clinic. There were all these certified financial planners that were sharing how to manage personal wealth alongside building a business. I'm curious as to if there is a way we can actually build our personal wealth by treating ourselves like businesses.
Well, that's exactly the message that we sort of get across to the business owners that we work with. So a big part of what we're doing with founder and entrepreneur clients is taking that mindset which they intuitively understand and applying it to their personal finances, setting those goals, being strategic, monitoring key metrics and helping them to move forward in terms of the project of their personal finances.
Rory Bratchner, founder of Dutch Guide.
702 afternoons.
With Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
South African municipalities face tough challenges every day, from infrastructure breakdowns to service delivery protests. Through the International City and County Managers Global Exchange Program and the Talent Management Seminar, local government leaders gain new ideas, proven solutions, and international partnerships to bring real change back home. Because when municipalities work better, communities live better.
Swing into spring with Hollywood Bet Spinner Zonke, where a sea of floral fun, epic adventures, and blooming beautiful games await. Reap red-hot riches and whimsical wins with our sparkling spring-themed slots. The season's luck is in full bloom, so dive in and grab your chance to unravel an endless supply of thrilling treasures and claim sensational rewards when you bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
James, congrats on the babies.
Yeah, thanks. It's a wild ride.
You're a new dad, 2 babies, 0 sleep, and 1 car that apparently couldn't cope.
Yeah, the hatchback was my baby, but it just didn't have enough space for my 2 new babies.
And are you happy with the price when you sold to We Buy Cars?
Very. We've even got some extra cash to splurge on one of those fancy brands that you basically need a license for.
Good luck, James. We Buy Cars. Geared for family, geared for you.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive at 17 minutes past 4. Today is World Suicide Prevention Day, and it's been spoken about a lot on 702. We thought we'd focus on this particular aspect. There are various organizations, most notably the South African Depression and Anxiety Group, that have created hotlines, spaces where people can call in, and trained counselors are able to talk them through a range of things. There are people who are depressed and anxious, and then, of course, there are people who are experiencing those emotions in a way that may be dangerous to their health and potentially to the health of other people as well. So what's involved in their training, and crucially, what's involved in helping them to debrief and put that day behind them, at least well enough so they can get on with their own lives, and presumably those lives, like most people's, are not uncomplicated either. Let's find out more about this then, and welcome to 702 Drive Lebohang Mokoena, who's volunteer training coordinator at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. Ms. Mokoena, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. When you are assessing somebody's suitability to play this role, working at SADAG and helping to offer the service that you do on the hotlines, what kind of things are you looking for in a person?
Thank you so much, John, and good afternoon to all your listeners. With the counselors that we have in the call center, we do require, people who have the need to want to help other people out there. Mental health is such a difficult topic, and there's a lot of stigma, associated with mental health, particularly today with, suicide as well, it being World Suicide Prevention Day. We do look for, counselors who will be there to hold a safe space for people who reach out for help, to say to them, listen, it is okay to not be okay, and as a counselor, I'm here to help you. So we obviously look for counselors who are empathetic, who want to show that level of support to people who reached out, counselors rather, who are non-judgmental, to hold that safe space for all the people that reached out for help.
So I mean, Ms. Mokoena, you talk about empathy, and I would have thought that's vital, and empathy is to some degree rooted in your own experiences. But I'm wondering how you guard against, possible triggers. Somebody may say, look, I'm empathetic, I've walked some difficult roads on my own, and then maybe a caller stirs up a memory or reminds them, maybe they're talking about, extreme bullying in the workplace, and suddenly the person is back in a space that maybe they haven't put behind them as far as they thought. Does that arise, and how do you guys prepare for that?
Yeah, what you speak of, John, it's mainly seen as counter-transference, where as
Yes.
a counselor, you speaking to a caller and you realize that, oh my goodness, this is something that I'm currently going through, or it's something that I've went through and actually haven't dealt with it. What we do is we make sure that we prioritize our counselor's well-being. And should it be that they pick up that actually I don't think I'm okay to assist
Yes.
this person further, we do suggest to them to alert the supervisors in the call center to assist with the call. We obviously need to be mindful of the situation because our counselors are human beings, right? And anything can trigger us. We are human beings and there is that human element in us as counselors. But we also need to make sure that our counselors' well-being is protected. And if it so happens that a counselor is triggered by a call, they need to notify us in the call center. What will then happen is another supervisor will try and assist the caller further. But we will also take the counselor into private space to kind of understand what exactly is going on, to provide them with that safe space to express their concerns and what it is that could have contributed to them feeling triggered during the call.
I would imagine, and the work that SADAG does is highly regarded and renowned, but there must be instances where somebody comes to you or whoever else they're reporting to and looking to for guidance and saying, I don't think I was able to help. That I assume happens, and if it does, it must be extraordinarily difficult. Do you prepare people in advance and say you're going to do as much as you can, but it may not be enough?
Yeah, 100%, John. And it can be very difficult for our counselors to come to terms with that, right? Because they come in with this ambition to say, I want to help as best as I can. But sometimes the help that is available that we want to give the people out there might not be the help that they need at that time.
Right.
And what we want to do is to say to the counselors, listen, what you have done is more than enough. Provided that you've gone through all the content that we've went through during training, that you tried by all means to follow the particular processes and procedures to assist the person further. But if at the end of the call the person still feels like they weren't assisted, we need to make sure that we evaluate ourselves as counselors to say, I truly did more than what I could have possibly done as a counselor. And we try and make them understand that, listen, in life in general, we cannot control everything, right? We cannot control how people respond to the suggestions that we give, because sometimes you may suggest something and the person says, actually, I don't think I'm for that. And there isn't much control that you can do there, right? You cannot force the person to get the help that they need. It has to come from them. But us as counselors, it's very important that we equip all our counselors in the call center with all the necessary resources, the procedures, the processes in place so that they make sure that they assist the person to their fullest potential.
I know this is going back in time, but I'm intrigued to get your thoughts on this. One of the things that was a massive hazard during load shedding was that calls kept dropping. And I wondered how, in general, but perhaps during that particular time, your counselors cope, because you would be making headway with somebody, and the lines would be dropping. Now, that was an extreme example, but maybe lines drop for other reasons. People run out of airtime. I would think a number of your callers are in difficult financial straits. How does that work? I mean, are you able to call them back, or are there instances where you actually kind of lose touch with people and you don't get them back?
No, John, we've come to a point where SADAG, and I'm so grateful that, SADAG as an organization has over, 30 plus helplines in place, and majority of our helplines, actually all of our helplines are toll-free, right? They're all 800 numbers.
Right.
And it has gotten to a point where they notice that a lot of people that reach out for help need that assistance. They don't have the airtime, they don't have the resources. And so SADAG decided that we actually need to have toll-free helplines in place for people so that when they reach out, they don't have to have that concern that their airtime is going to be depleted. So our helplines are toll-free. All of our 800 numbers are toll-free. So should it be that someone is struggling, they're more than welcome to give us a call on our 0800 numbers.
Right.
And those are toll-free on our end. If it so happens that a line drops for whatever particular reason, we are able to call them back and assist them further regarding their query.
And just finally, the debriefing process, either at the end of a shift or a week of shifts, I would think it's crucial, but I would think it at times must get quite difficult as well.
Mm-hmm. So what we've put in place is, what we call a SADC cares about you. As much as our counselors are there to help all the callers, we also need to make sure that we are prioritizing our counselors' well-being. So what we do is we've sort of, put to the table that, listen, we do have debrief sessions available for you. So if you're on a very difficult call that was very overwhelming for you, that you felt like, this was a lot for me, to go through, to explain to this person, and you feel very overwhelmed at the end of the call, there is that option to debrief with a supervisor right there and then. We could go into a private place where you'll have a cup of coffee, a glass of water, and just debrief about the call that you had. If it so happens that it's something that is starting to affect your personal life, we look at, professionals that we can sort of suggest for them to have those debrief sessions with. What we also have at SADC, we have our own support group for counselors, run by counselors, and it's called Masakane,
right,
which means let's build each other. And that support group is a safe space where counselors are there together. They share their own experiences together as counselors as a way to debrief, because in a support group, we learn from each other. And I could have gone through a call that you would have went through, and you share some helpful tips with me during that time. So there is a lot of support that we put in place for our counselors, should it be that they need the help and support.
Thank you so much. Lebohang Mokwene is Volunteer Training Coordinator at the South African Depression and Anxiety Group. And I'm very glad we had that conversation. I hope you found it interesting because, we often talk about SADC, we talk about other services that are offered for people who are dealing with depression, anxiety, and possibly on contemplating, as we reflect on World Suicide Prevention Day, possibly contemplating taking their own lives. And I think it's important that we realize that the people who are behind the lines are strong, but also need some support and training as well. 702 Drive, 27 minutes past 4.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you. Markets today.
Good afternoon to you, John. Quite a lot of corporate reporting today. That's helping the JSE to be up, the all share up 0.4% at 103,641 points. Financials down 0.48. Industrials down 0.21. Resources up 2.55. So gold, of course, higher. And then platinum's not doing too badly either, which is really pushing resources up. And in fact, there were results today there were results earlier from one of the mining companies from Africa Resources, just talking about how the gold prices had such a big impact on them and what they're going to try and do to capitalize on. What they did also say, though, is that if they look at the situation in the rest of the continent, they really are going to focus their efforts on South Africa rather than the rest of Africa. DRD gold up nearly 5%. Anglo still, I think, on a roller coaster from yesterday in that merger with Teck. They're up nearly 4%. Anglo gold up 3.73. AVI had results earlier in the week. They're up 3.41. Old Mutual up nearly 3% on the day. Old Mutual increasing its interim dividend by 9%. They'll have a big share buyback as well. They do say their operations for the first half of the year were up by 16%. They're also putting a lot of money, now 1.6 billion rand, into getting their bank going, Old Mutual Bank. Remgro up 2.31, and then Growth Point Properties, their shares up as well. Their group operating profit was up by 5.5%. They do also say, John, I found this very interesting. There's been a big increase in demand for property, so office property in the Western Cape, we expect that, but also in Umhlanga Ridge in KwaZulu-Natal. And we'll actually speak to the CEO tonight, and one of the questions I'll ask is whether this is about more demand for office property in KZN, or whether people are sort of continuing that move out of Durban into the kind of Umhlanga area. I mean, they're not very far apart, but there's a sort of move that we've been seeing over the last little while. Italtal down nearly down 10.5%, WBHO down 5.45%, and then some of the financial shares. So Absa down 4%, Standard Bank is down 3.14%, and even Woolworths is down on the day. In the US, markets did start quite high. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq had record highs at the open. That was because of producer price inflation, which was slightly lower than expected. That would suggest then build the case for the Reserve Bank, the Federal Reserve there, to actually cut interest rates. And Oracle had a big surge in cloud computing in their latest update. The Dow Jones is down 0.11%. The Nasdaq is up 0.49%. The S&P 500 is up 0.62%. The gold price, $3,653.13. Platinum, $1,387.20. Brent crude, $67.02 a barrel. The rand to the dollar, 17.49 to the euro, 20.50 to the British pound, 23.70. Stephen Crotus, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. 4:30 on 702 Drive. Let's get the very latest headlines then from Mbali Dlamini. Down to the Western Cape we go. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. A very good afternoon. Anti-gang unit detectives have arrested a 24-year-old suspect in connection with the recent shooting at the Athlone Magistrates Court today. The suspect was allegedly involved in a shooting inside the court premises, which left a suspected gang member dead. The victim was due to appear in court on Friday last week when he was shot by gunmen who then fled the scene. Moments later, not far from the court, a man and a woman were wounded in separate shootings. Police spokesperson Andre Trout says the suspect is in hospital receiving medical treatment under police guard.
Once formally charged, he is expected to appear in the very same court where the incidents took place. The investigation remains ongoing and the possibility of additional arrests cannot be ruled out.
Let's stay in the Western Cape, where National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola is visiting Kraaifontein this afternoon following a surge in deadly violence. Kraaifontein is one of the many Cape Town communities plagued by an increase in gang-related violence. In that particular area, police are investigating 3 double murders which were reported last night, but it's not yet clear whether they are linked. In Wallisdean, 2 women were shot dead and a third person was wounded shortly before the bodies of 2 other women were found inside a bedroom. The police's Wesley Twigg has more on that third incident.
In an unrelated shooting incident at about 10 to 10, police members responded to a complaint of a shooting on the corner of 9th Avenue and Verster Street, Ekendal, where they found the bodies of 2 victims aged 20 and 22. The suspects fled the scene and are yet to be arrested. The motives for these attacks forms part of the police investigation.
Masemola is currently briefing the media on his visit to Kraaifontein this afternoon. We will bring you more from that briefing in our upcoming bulletins. Gauteng traffic authorities have issued several infringement notices to non-compliant public transport operators during the first week of September. This forms part of efforts by the Traffic Inspectorate to bolster efforts to fight criminality in the sector. The provincial government has been on a drive to ensure compliance with road regulations. Transport MEC spokesperson Lisiba Mpia says during the operation, officers made several arrests.
Officers issued over 1,600 manual infringement notices and an additional 1,800 through the unit's E-Force gadget. 163 vehicles were issued with discontinue notices for non-compliance with traffic regulations. This includes a total of 136 minibuses found operating without operating licenses.
He says several minibus taxis were fined for unroadworthy vehicles as well as other infringements.
149 minibuses were discontinued for non-fitness and various unroadworthy transgressions. 384 minibus drivers were found operating without licenses.
And in China, the government has rejected a bill that would have granted limited rights to same-sex couples whose unions are registered abroad. Nearly 89 legislators voted against the bill, which government proposed in response to a 2023 top court ruling that ordered the creation of a legal framework for LGBTQI+ couples. Activists say they are disheartened by the move, as it would have been an important step forward in repairing the country's reputation as an international financial hub. A fine Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow, lows of between 13 and 14 degrees and highs of between 26 and 32.
Well, in Waiteville, Germiston, we still have bumper traffic on Osborne Road between Dekema and the N12. Protea Glen, also traffic heavily backed up. N12 westbound between the R554 Abu Bakr Drive and the R558. And traveling in Melrose, Rosebank area, expect about a 20-minute delay. This is on Glenove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks.
The top story in EWN, anti-gang unit detectives in the Western Cape have arrested a 24-year-old suspect in connection with the recent shootings at the Athlone Magistrates Court.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays,
12 to 1.
How worried are you about this being a deterrent to people seeking justice and coming to court?
Absolutely worried about that very, very much, because our whole constitutional democracy rests on three big pillars: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. If people are afraid to be approaching the judicial arm of the state in a constitutional democracy, that's a very, very, very big problem.
Deputy Minister Andries Nels.
The Midday Report
With Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Avi Josie 2025 is back, where creativity and technology meet. Join us at Summer Place in Hyde Park, Johannesburg from 13 to 14 September for cutting-edge masterclasses, workshops, live demos in film, animation, VFX, AI, gaming and interactive tech. This year's theme, Heart of Steel, celebrates bold creators striving in the age of AI and disruption. Expect local and international experts to share their knowledge in workshops, tech showcases, game jams, portfolio reviews, and interactive sessions. And it's completely free. Register now at avijosie.com.
This September, Joburg Theatre brings you a powerful mix of drama, music, and dance. Dancing the Death Drill, adapted from Fred Khumalo's acclaimed novel, tells the tale of Pito Mutaung, a South African soldier forever changed by the tragic sinking of the SS Mendi. The cast features Kwenzo Ngobo, Tuli Tabete, and Clint Brink, with choreography by Luyanda Sidia and original music by Msaki. This is a story of love, loss, and remembrance. Catch it from 9 to 28 September 2025 on the Mandela stage at Joburg Theatre. Dancing the Death Drill, a moment in history brought to life. Book now at joburgtheatre.com.
For those 2 a.m. checkouts or the late night shift, for the last minute orders and the beginning of the month rush, for the 9 to 5 that becomes a 5 to 9. You don't clock out, and neither should your payments. Pay Fast by Network, always open for the dreamers, the doers, for you. From e-commerce to in-store payments and business funding, we have you covered. Sign up today at payfast.io.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi, John. Marilyn in Boxburg. That lady's got it totally wrong. How can she equate and that illegal immigration is the root cause for having no water? The whole problem is the municipalities have abused our ratepayers' money and haven't fixed the infrastructure over the years. That is the main thing. The fact that there are more people to service makes it worse, worsens the situation. She's totally got it the wrong way around.
So I quite often say more than one thing can be true. And I think sometimes we get a little stuck saying it's either this or it's that. But could both be true? Are both valid points of view, both of them in their own particular ways, contributing to what has become an immense problem? And contributing in a way, by the way, where you don't just get, well, you got 2 on the one side and 2 on the other, and therefore the problem is 4. Because I think at certain points, these things get larger and larger in an exponential way. So, yeah, in the beginning, there's a contribution of this and a contribution of that. And then when they get mixed up and entangled with each other, it can get way, way worse, and not just the sum of its parts. But give us your views, 011 883 0702 and 072 7021 702. It's 21 minutes now to 5.
EWN Sport.
New members of the Springbok team, massive challenge playing the All Blacks. What is everyone in the camp saying about this? Anthony Teixeira has that story and some others.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. We will start with the Springboks, as Ethan Hooker has shared that Jesse Kriel and Damien Dialendi have welcomed and worked closely with the newer Springboks to help acclimatise them to the setup. The utility back will earn his first start on Saturday morning when the World Champs tackle the All Blacks in Wellington, New Zealand.
They've calmed us down quite a lot and they've shown a lot of experience throughout the weeks. We've been training with them for a couple of months now, and they do give us a lot of confidence going onto the pitch, and we do try to play with not as much fear as some guys would think. We just go onto that pitch and try to express ourselves just like anyone else, and having people like Jesse and Damien, they really do help us narrow that and channel that into just performing on the weekend.
Switching to football now, Bafana ended the international break with a 3-0 win over Lesotho last Friday and then a 1-1 draw against Nigeria last night. Bafana go into October's international break needing 4 points from their encounters against Zimbabwe and Rwanda to seal a first World Cup appearance since 2010. Other selected qualifying results saw Jed Spence become the first Muslim to play for England in a 5-0 win against Serbia, while we had Cristiano Ronaldo equaling Guatemala's Carlos Ruiz's record, 39 World Cup qualifying goals in Portugal's 3-2 win against Hungary. In cricket, Proteas will change focus now to the shortest format of the game as they meet England in the first of 3 T20s this evening. Captain Aidan Markham says the focus remains on next February's T20 World Cup and the South Africans trying to find their best combinations.
Feels like the depth has been good. The options that are sort of knocking on doors are some really exciting options for us, and again, it's about us giving them fair opportunities and seeing again how best we can formulate a squad and a plan going to that World Cup.
Play begins at 7:30, and in cycling, Volta Spenger organisers have clarified that they'll be finishing the race on Sunday. Several stages of the Grand Tour have been shortened after pro-Palestinian protests disrupted the routes. Race director Javier Guillen reminded the protesters it is illegal to block cyclists and that they are fully committed to reaching Madrid for the final stage with no plan B having been pitched. Meanwhile, a Riders Union senior official declared that riders voted to neutralise Wednesday's stage 17 if protests disrupt the stage, with some even ready to quit the race altogether. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, this EWN Traffic is brought to you by the Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun. Karabo Chale has all the latest details on what's happening on the roads. Good afternoon.
Well, at this stage, John, if you are traveling in and out of Melrose, Rosebank area, you can expect about a 30-minute delay. This is on Glenove Road between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks. In Houghton, traveling towards Boysens, Joburg CBD, traffic also heavily backed up on the M1 southbound from Glenove to the double-decker section. If you are in the Bryanston area heading towards Four Ways, traffic is a bit sluggish. N1 South between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. Wadeville, Germiston, bumper-to-bumper traffic this afternoon. This is on Osborne Road. Between Dakema and the N12. Not yet clear what's causing this delay. So if you're in and around the area on that route, please let me know. WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702. In the city of Tshwane, we still have slow-moving traffic in Irene. This is on Nelmapius Drive, approaching Main Road. Also traveling through Centurion, heading towards Waterkloof for Linwood. There's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the N1 northbound. Between Borta Avenue and Atterbury Road. Like I said, if you come across any other traffic issues, you can also SMS us on 31702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Explore the wonders of Mpumalanga. Discover the ultimate wildlife experience that brings you closer to nature. Get your adrenaline rush with endless adventure activities. Explore breathtaking 4x4 routes or hike the Blader River Canyon, the third largest in the world. Unwind with spectacular landscapes and majestic waterfalls. Make Mpumalanga your destination of choice. Mpumalanga, embrace the unknown, live the adventure. This message is brought to you by the Mpumalanga Tourism and Parks Agency. Mpumalanga, the place of the rising sun. Visit mpumalanga.com for more information.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
I'm not quite sure why, but earlier we were talking about blocking numbers on your phone. I don't think I blocked anyone's number, although there would be some callers that are obviously from spammers and scammers and people who are trying to, mainly scammers actually, spammers I'm not too bothered. But people who are trying to rip me off and steal my money, they do get blocked because it's, apart from the fact that it's criminal and horrible, it also becomes quite tedious once they get their grubby hands into your little corner of cyberspace. But Rifui Litsua was telling us today that you have blocked how many people? I mean, it's loads. I don't think I even know as many people as you've blocked. What's going on there?
Do you know, John, as I'm listening to you, I realize that it could be, sure. So it's 101 people that I've blocked over the years. I knew you guys were going to laugh and judge me. That's fine. I'm saying it with my chest, 101. And so I went back to the list today because, you know, sometimes you need to let your parolees out and see, have they been on good behavior? Do they need time off? Do they need to go back to the drawing board? And I didn't recognize some of them. Because I know some of them were stalkers, some of them were people that I knew that didn't understand boundaries. So I mean, I'm a chronic blocker. If you want to block me, you're more than welcome. I will not take it personally. I promise.
I will not block you, and if I did, I would not refer to you as a parolee because I
John, you're making it worse than it sounds.
No. I mean, goodness me. We're having a day with words. We had playful for disruptive. We've got parolees for stalkers. Quite a thing.
Yeah.
So, seriously, I don't know. There's nobody I know that I've blocked. I must admit, close with somebody who I didn't know really well. We had a business conversation, and then they began sending me WhatsApps. And it wasn't so much that they were sending me WhatsApps, but their tone was very rude. I like politeness in in communication. So it would have been, hey, John, how are you doing? Just wanted to follow up on this. Like, what's happening with that thing I sent you? And I thought,
That's
no.
rude.
But I never blocked them. They are not on parole. They are out.
I think you
on
should
release.
block them.
Okay.
There's a power in blocking, John.
Clearly. 101 people blocked. Anthony, you laughed quite uproariously. I mean, what is it? Is it too many, or does the idea of blocking sound ridiculous to you?
I think 101 is extreme. I'm not going to lie. I'm still in like the single digits. I probably got like 6 or 7 people that I've blocked along the way. And it's that thing of being abrupt.
Yes.
Or constantly nagging, or constantly making phone calls. I don't need that in my life. I don't need to feel like I owe you something constantly. So if a relationship starts to sour, if things start to become overwhelming, it's just block. Another thing that also helps is you can now mute people on WhatsApp. So just muting and archiving, and then, forgetting about the conversation. Let them have their conversation by themselves the entire time.
I'm wondering if you're one of 6 who've been blocked, you at least feel a bit more special.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're one of 101, you're thinking, wow, I mean, she's blocking me. Everyone gets blocked. You get blocked. You get, to paraphrase Oprah Winfrey, you get blocked. You get blocked. Karabocha, everybody gets blocked. Do you do any blocking?
Yeah, people are all money. I'm kidding. I'm just kidding. I find unnecessary phone calls very annoying. They're just a call where a person is just checking up on you, and there's no really a point on where this conversation is going, and you guys were not really that close, and I don't know, all of a Sunday they just call you randomly, frequently, and I'll just politely maybe just block you, and maybe when I need to talk to you about something which has a point, then maybe I'll unblock you and we can talk. But then if you start doing the same tendencies, then I block you again.
Okay. Well, no, I think everybody who is friends with, because you can no longer ring Rifue, but now you know what's happened. Karabo, Anthony have laid down the ground rules. I haven't blocked anyone. Tell us, though, who have you blocked and why? I bet you there's some great blocking stories, and maybe you've been blocked and you think it was unfair. I don't know if there is some sort of Supreme Court of Appeal on blocking, but if there is, we'll dig out the number, get the contact details, and we'll connect you up. 702 Drive, 11 minutes to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
At this time on a Wednesday, we do what we call minding your money. We look at various aspects of the money you have, the money you need, and how you can go about making those two match as accurately as possible. There is, though, a slight difference in what we're talking about today, because this is money that nobody seems to want to claim. But it's an issue. We've spoken about it before. We've had the JSE on. I think we had Liberty Life on. They've been campaigning around that. There are a large and growing number of, or volume of unclaimed benefits across retirement funds, shares, and other financial instruments, and on the JSE and from various institutions. So why are people not claiming the money? Let's find out, and welcome, as we always do on Minding Your Money, Paul Rulofse to 702 Drive. Paul, you're going to share with us how best you can go about claiming unclaimed benefits, but just briefly to set the scene. Is this unusual? Are we unusual in this regard in South Africa? I don't know if it's a global problem. Why on earth are people not collecting money to which they're entitled? Good afternoon to you.
Well, I think, hi there, John. Yes, certainly. I think it all stems down to out of sight, out of mind. You know, you move jobs. South Africans, we have a history of moving jobs quite often. And I think what happens is we have funds that we forget about, funds that we want to go back to, but, you know, out of sight, out of mind. So I think it becomes over time a problem, especially if we're hopping around. And also there's also some surpluses that are left behind which aren't attended to when you do leave your previous employment. But I must just share the case why I brought this up as a very important subject. A client of mine whom I've been dealing with for many years now, we review quite often. He hasn't quite retired yet. We've got all his instruments and plan and investments all sorted out for his future retirement plan when we do push the button. But he got an email out of the blue from a tracing agent who said, look, we've been asked by this particular company to see if you are still where we think you are on this email because we've got some money for you. And we anticipated it as a scam because, you know, something is too good to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. Always is. Yeah.
So I took it upon myself as his advisor to get into the product provider that actually they purported to have the money. And I had a good chat to the consultant, and he trailed it into his system. And lo and behold, he had some money there. And what it was as long back as 2011, he had nominated on a fund that he left a small portion, 600,000 Rand in this instance, to be put in a preservation fund with the fund that he left. Now, what happens in the industry is that becomes quite an area that doesn't sort of get prominently seen, especially when you're searching for information.
Right.
All the front of office stuff is there, but certainly corporate stuff in particular. When I talk about corporate, I'm talking about pension fund business is there. And lo and behold, we then went into the details, and that 600,000 has now manifested into 2.1 million Rand.
Goodness me.
Over a period of 2011 to now. So it's happy news. So I thought let's put that out there and encourage our listeners to go out there and not challenge, but certainly investigate and navigate through all their previous employers and what funds they were on, and see if there's anything lying around there that has perhaps been waiting for them to claim.
So, I mean, let's look at some of the ways you might go about this then, Paul. You say there are trace services, but you need to be careful. The FSCA, FSCA has a website with an unclaimed benefits section. Where would you start? Do you think you need to pull more than one thread?
Oh, most certainly, John. It's not going to be there one stroke for all folks. There's no one-stop shop in this particular problem. And I think that's half the problem. It's so scattered over all sorts of financial transactions and memberships and things that you might have been involved with. So I think what your starting point is to go back to all your old records, old pay slips, old tax returns, anything else that will point to your previous funds that you were on, and remind yourself, what they are. You can make a direct contact with those providers and see if they've got anything on record, which is probably a little quicker. But a one-stop shop could be, not absolute though, is the FSCA. If you navigate onto their website down to unclaimed benefits, there's a little profile that you've got to fill in. And from there, they will do an immediate search, and you can then, understand whether or not they've got anything. But then carry on, do everything you can. Go back to previous pension funds and retirement annuity funds that you might have thought about and you've forgotten about, and contact those service providers because there could be something. And we know that there are billions out there. That's the estimate of funds just lying around, John.
So Paul, I mean, just to complicate it slightly, if I look back on my life, I've got some idea about where to look. More complicated if you're the beneficiary from the working life and savings habits of, for example, a deceased family member. Is the process still fundamentally the same, that you think to yourself, my dad or mom worked for this and that company, I have their ID number, or do you have to jump through some other hoops to prove that you in fact are the beneficiary?
Well, you might have to. It becomes a little bit more technical at that layer because you're not the original owner. But that doesn't discourage us. I think as a beneficiary, if you suspect that your dad or your mom or whoever you're benefiting from may very well have had a fund, check it out. You can on the FSC website, and I'm sure with certain validations, you can get it from the providers as well. If you can prove, IDs and that you are a beneficiary, some kind of relationship, I'm sure they will cooperate. Look, these providers want to cooperate because these funds are sitting around there and technically they've got to be paid out to someone. And there's quite a large portion, I would suspect, of deceased, funds there where beneficiaries haven't applied, and the providers are simply waiting for them to contact them.
Great advice there, and a lot to think about. I'd love to hear from you, and thank you to Paul Rulofse, as always, enlightening us on our weekly feature, Minding Your Money. But I'd like to know, have you ever done this kind of trace, and what kind of results have you had? And if you've had success, what did you use the money for? I bet there's some stories out there. I'd like to hear a few. As I said, we've tried to add our amplifying voice to this campaign in the past, but nothing like the story of a successful hunting down of cash you didn't know you have. I would have thought to motivate other people. So if you want to be that person, that cheerleader for an important process, get us on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
A family secret around the paternity of a child is allegedly at the center of a deadly hostage situation in Pretoria. 32-year-old police constable Tapelo Mashego held his mother and nephew hostage for 16 hours yesterday in their Mamelodi home. He shot his 18-year-old nephew and then turned the gun on himself.
He said he found out that the child he has with his girlfriend is not his, but is his brother's.
EWN. In touch, in tune, and independent.
This weekend, fun is in full bloom at the Spring Playground at Melrose Arch. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., kids can enjoy the Spring Playground on the piazza in collaboration with Clamber Club. From obstacle courses, a jumping castle, and giant board games to face painting and a trampoline bungee for children over 5. Tickets can be booked on the piazza, and for the adults, there's going to be toe-tapping live entertainment on the square from 1 to 3 p.m. So book a table and soak up the sunshine.
Betway is taking you to dizzying new heights in one of the world's most popular games, Aviator. Place your bets and watch the multiplier climb higher and higher. Pick the right time to cash out and stand to win millions on a single bet. It's all possible from the palm of your hand. Get way more only at Betway.
Betway is licensed and regulated by the Western Cape Gambling and Racing Board. No persons under the age of 18 are permitted to gamble. South African Responsible Gambling Program toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710. Winners know when to stop.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for optometrists, surgeons, and other medical specialists. Here's Chrissy.
Business Outsurance is the best insurer for my business. They have great premiums, wonderful service. I know without a doubt that Outsurance has my back, and we always get something out with Outsurance.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
702 Drive still to come on the show. We'll take another look at the water crisis in Westbury, Coronationville, Ebony Park, and some other areas as well. And then in the light of those stiff sentences handed out to Chinese nationals for human trafficking, some background on what might be behind that particular court case and the crime that the court focused on. Andy Mashaile, security strategist, our guest at 5:10.
This is EWN.
The family of a convicted human trafficker says the real criminal is still out there, and police make a breakthrough following the Kraaifontein murders. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The daughter of a Chinese national who has been sentenced for human trafficking with 6 others insists the convictions will not end the crisis in the country. The 7 will each serve 20 years behind bars for kidnapping 91 Malawian nationals in 2019, 37 of whom were children, and forcing them to work in a Joburg factory. Meanwhile, Nancy Chow claims places like Dragon City and China Mall in Joburg CBD harbour undocumented foreign nationals who've been trafficked into the country and exploited. Mongezi Koko reports.
In response to Nancy Chow's claims, both the Hawks and the Deputy Minister of Labour have committed to investigating further. Chow also claims that a powerful kingpin with links to firearms is still operating freely in Johannesburg, alleging he is the real mastermind behind the trafficking network.
You know, those Malawians, they don't need visa to get in this country. And there's many Malawian workers finding jobs in there. If you go to the China shopping center.
The Hawks confirm they are in contact with Nancy Chow and say they're working closely with relevant embassies as part of their follow-up. For now, the investigation continues with her explosive allegations adding a new layer to the complex case. Mongezi Koko, Eyewitness News.
Let's stay in the courts. Alleged Usindiso building arsonist Thembiso Mdlalose has apologized to South Africans, saying he lied about starting the deadly fire. Mdlalose told the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court today that he lied about starting the blaze because he was tired of being homeless. 76 people were killed when a massive inferno ravaged the hijacked building in Johannesburg in August of 2023. The 32-year-old faces 76 counts of murder, attempted murder as well as arson charges. Alfara Mushwana was in court.
Presiding Judge Kasim Musa began proceedings today by telling alleged arsonist Thembiso Mdlalose what the rest of his life could look like if he's convicted of murder and attempted murder. Upon being informed of this, Mdlalose told the court that he lied about everything, claiming he did so only to obtain shelter in prison.
I'm apologizing for using an unforeseen circumstances like this one to attain my personal ambition. Knowing very well there are people that lost victims there.
Mdlalose will return to court next Wednesday, where the state will cross-examine him on his testimony. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Palm Ridge.
Let's shift our focus to the Western Cape now, where Cape Town police have made a breakthrough and arrested a 49-year-old suspect linked to the murders of 4 women in Kraaifontein. The victims were shot and killed in 2 separate attacks last night. In a third incident, 2 men were shot and killed. National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola says 3 foreign nationals have also been detained. He says the gun believed to be the murder weapon was found hidden inside a spaza shop.
The farm has been taken in as an exhibit. The arrest of the 49-year-old suspect is now linked to one of the double murders of the two females, and we are sure, looks like we will be able to resolve both the double murders.
International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola expects more countries to soon support South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Lamola briefed Parliament today on the country's case to find Israel guilty of contravening the Rome Statute on genocide. Several countries, including Brazil, Spain and the Republic of Ireland, have already asked to intervene in the case against Israel. Carlo Peterson has more.
International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola says national government has taken proactive steps to engage with other states to support the cause of the Palestinian people. Lamola told the Portfolio Committees on International Relations and Cooperation and Justice DIRCO is not only dealing with the matter on a legal platform.
Even at the AU level, South Africa continues to mobilize member states of the African Union to support this cause.
Lamola says countries in the West are also starting to support the case.
We are also welcoming the fact that there are also other countries, even in the West, which are beginning to now see this through the eyes of South Africa. And they have done so in the last engagement of the recognition of a Palestinian state.
Brazil recently indicated its intention to support South Africa's case, along with 14 other countries against Israel. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And Rwanda has dismissed as stupid a campaign by the Democratic Republic of Congo for the United Nations to recognize a genocide against its people in the country's east. Earlier this year, the M23 armed group swept through eastern DRC, seizing parts of the mineral-rich territory that has been plagued by deadly violence for more than 3 decades now. The offensive saw M23 fighters capture key cities, killing and displacing thousands of people, which the UN labeled as a humanitarian crisis. Gold is trading at $3,647.82 an ounce. The rand is at 17.50 to the dollar, 23.28 to the pound, 20.57 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $66.93 a barrel.
Heading into Soweto, deep clue of bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is in the Southgate area on the N12 westbound between Xavier and the deep clue of interchange. Also driving through Naturina, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on the Golden Highway. This is between the N12 and the N1.
And in sport, Aidan Markram labels England tough opponents ahead of Protea's first T20. Bafana maintain lead in World Cup qualifying group with Nigeria draw. And two-time Grand Slam winner Leighton Hewitt has been handed a 2-week ban by the Tennis Integrity Agency.
A fine Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 13 degrees, peaking at 28. Pretoria 14 and 32, and Vereeniging 13 and 26 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour. The daughter of a Chinese national who has been sentenced for human trafficking with 6 others insists the convictions will not end the crisis in the country.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 8 minutes past 5. How's your Wednesday been? If you're heading home, we'll make sure we get you home as smoothly as we possibly can. Traffic updates coming up in just a moment. We'll have a few in this hour. Now, one of the stories that Mbali Dlamini was highlighting, she just referred to it a moment ago, allegations that even though a number of people, 7 Chinese nationals, each getting a 20-year prison sentence for human trafficking, kidnapping and forced labor in the Joburg High Court. Allegations made by a family member of one of those convicted that there is a syndicate operating here and that these arrests, prosecutions and convictions will not stop the continuation of this crime. Well, the Hawks are taking these allegations very seriously. They say that they will follow up on the information that she may bring forward. So is there a mafia that is operating, a Chinese mafia operating in the country and focused on human trafficking? Security analyst Andy Mashaile joins us to talk about that. The other big story of the day, of course, the water protests out in Westbury, Coronationville, Ebony Park, and other parts of Gauteng. Ferial Adam from the organization Watercan joining us with her thoughts. And the question I really want to ask her is, government may respond with some kind of band-aid solutions, water tankers, and so on. But are they able to fix the fundamental problems? Because if they aren't, I suspect we're going to see lots more of this. Ferial Adam with us at about 5:20. A couple of other things we asked you about. Do you block people on your phones? We were prompted to do this by the rather substantial number of people. Rifue Litsua has blocked 101. Well, that is absolutely nothing compared to this listener. I'm just finding their name now. Someone asking whether we need a blocking ombudsman. Yvette says, I have blocked 331 people. Perry's blocked a good number of people, but he has a system. Let me share that with you. I've completely blocked 8. Blocked 25 from seeing my profile pic and 262 from seeing my WhatsApp status. My reasons vary from personal to professional. I don't want some of my colleagues to see what I get up to on weekends and during my personal time. The other thing that we asked you about, prompted by a very interesting contribution from Paul Rulofse on Minding Your Money this week, talking about money that's lying around, literally billions and billions in the country, unclaimed pension money, insurance benefits, share dividends, and more. And Paul gave us a set of guidelines on how you can try and track that money down. If you missed it, by the way, his excellent advice available on our website, primemediaplus.com. Some of you talking about all of these issues on our WhatsApp line, 072 702 1702. Let's take a listen, and if you want to join in, that's your number as well.
Hey guys, I don't block anyone. Blocking is useless. It's a waste of time. And also, if you block a person, what's the point of blocking them? I don't see the point. Anyway, that's me. Sam here, Bedford.
Hey John, Mona Claire here from Four Ways. So I have 164 people blocked, and I've got 874 people blocked from my status view. So if you are one of the 864, you could be a client, you could be somebody who's not in my personal life, you could be work, colleague, and all of that. Then you're part of the 864 that can't see my statuses. But blocked, it's 164 people, and it's for various reasons. Thanks, great show, John. Bye.
Hi, John. It's Rulof here from Alberton. I used to work for a company called Verify. They search for all policies that you might have forgotten, and they search for policies that you are a beneficiary on. And yeah, we helped quite a few people with quite a few rand that we helped them either reinvest, pay out to them, things like that. So that's also another company that people can look at. It's Verify with an I.
Yeah, thanks for that. I mean, all those people, I've blocked 164 people. I don't think I even know 164 people. I'm beginning to think I have way fewer friends and associates than everybody else. Anyway, that's just me. And blocking your calls, please keep those coming. On pensions, this one, I left my pension at a previous employer. I left without even a goodbye, as I was fed up. I went to check it a few years, but they wanted me to take some paperwork back to those people that I don't want to see. So I just left it. Strange thing is, I received calls from distant relatives about it. I always wonder how they did find out. This another one from someone who calls himself Dad. I approached an insurance company to claim what they said belonged to me. After completing the claim process, SARS took all the money. Sometimes you can allow SARS to get to. It's an area we didn't actually cover with Paul, but it's a subject we'll come back to. If anyone knows how the SARS procedures work in this regard, well, do let us know. 14 minutes past 5.
EWN Traffic.
This Eyewitness News Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. problems in Melrose earlier. Karabo Chale, it seems they're getting worse.
Yeah, that's due to roadworks. This is in the Melrose Rosebank area on Glenove Road between Oxford and the M1. There's also heavy delays in the Houghton area traveling through the Joburg CBD. This is M1 South. Between Glenove and the double-decker section, Bryanston traffic remains sluggish. This is on the N1 southbound between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. Constantia Kloof heading through Roodepoort, heading towards Soweto. You can also expect about a 20-minute delay. N1 South between Bayers, Nodia and Gordon Road. While in the Southgate area, there's traffic pressure on the N12 westbound between Xavier and the Deep Kloof interchange. This is due to an accident seen on the N1 South, just off the Deep Kloof interchange, just before the Golden Highway. As a result of that accident scene and all those delays on the N12, I see some motorists are opting for driving through Naturina using the Golden Highway. So delays between the N1 and the Joburg Correctional Services. In Waiteville, Germiston, we've had slow-moving traffic throughout the afternoon. This is on Osborne Road between Dekema and the N12. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
20 years ago, you were driving to your first job, and 20 years ago, the OUTsurance pointsmen were on the roads, easing traffic congestion. Whether you're an OUTsurance client or not, we've all been getting something out. From Johannesburg, Tshwane, and Paarl to Stellenbosch, show the OUTsurance pointsmen some love this month and celebrate this 20th anniversary using #PointsmenLove. OUTsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, OUTsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, as you heard in the bulletins and the reports throughout the day from Mongezi Koko, a number of Chinese nationals, 7 of them in all, were each handed 20-year prison sentences for human trafficking, kidnapping, and forced labor. This in regard to 91 Malawians who the court found had been kidnapped. This included, by the way, 37 children and forced to work in a Johannesburg factory. Then the daughter of one of the accused spoke out in the court and said her family had been framed. She claimed a kingpin was the real master and said there was a syndicate that brings illegal foreigners into the country. The Hawks say they're going to be looking into it, but what do we know about where the Hawks ought to be looking? Andy Mashaile is a security strategist and retired Interpol ambassador. Mr. Mashaile, welcome and thanks very much for your time. What do we know about organized crime amongst Chinese nationals either living in South Africa or connected to the country? Is it a substantial presence?
Brother John, good afternoon to you and to the listeners of this heavyweight champion show. There is a substantial presence of the Chinese transnational organized crime syndicate. Way back, John, I'll take you to around 2010 when I was still the chairperson of the Gauteng Provincial Community Police Board working with General Petros. You remember that era. In your West Dean area, you find a lot just next to Bruma Lake. You find a lot of Chinese nationals who cannot speak English, and they come to South Africa and they establish businesses around there. And the Chinese triads, the Chinese mafia, would extort those individuals to such an extent that they connected to the Hillbrow cluster under the late General Paras joining the CPF in that area. That would have been the cluster board in that area. And I have visited that area. And the horror stories that we learned of Chinese transnational organized crime syndicate trafficking their own people from China, smuggling them in, amongst other things, were very serious stories. I'm now talking 2010. When you look at your global initiative against transnational organized crime report that was released 2024, you realize that the Chinese mafia specialize with abalone from the Western Cape that gets transported up on our coast until into East Africa, then into China. So you have a seriously deeply embedded transnational organized crime syndicate referred to as the Triad. Even the copycats, John, who realized that there would be a substantial amount of money in human trafficking with less pain to the body. The police can shoot at them. The police can arrest them and give them tea and cake. I don't want to say kick them around. So that business is very lucrative for the serious syndicates. These guys who got 20 years are just runners. I looked at their profile. The runnership profile tells me someone above them is still doing rounds in those areas that I referred to, who report to a syndicate. How will they get people from Malawi to here? They have a substantial presence in Malawi and in East Africa, operating businesses. So they would say to these individuals, we have other businesses running in South Africa. We will take you there. They will be recruited by a person that they wouldn't associate with the owner of the business that they have worked for or the business that are operating there. So that's one reason how these transnational organized syndicates operate. Yes.
So Mr. Mashaile, I mean, the court case obviously was based on thorough investigation, a conviction secured. And we see this often in other matters, but why does that never lead to the people higher up? Is that because the people who are in the dock and are now convicted and now sentenced just simply will not say anything about who they work for? Is it because of silence and very tight? Or do you think we don't dig deep enough when we prosecute?
Brother John, the structure, the configuration is very complex. They will only know the higher up, their immediate higher up. They will not know the second and third, which would be second and first higher up in terms of the lieutenants in the syndicate. That's how they operate. You only know Bra Andy or Bra John, who operates, who is my supervisor or my senior in this gang, who lives somewhere around Krugersdorp. From there, you don't have any other clue. The second reason why they wouldn't spill on the beans, even if they know the higher up, reprisals in China are very serious, and you know what the triad can do to a Chinese national. They would go to your family from here. They would go to your family and do damage, destroy the family there. So those who are here are forced, if they are a member of a syndicate, they are forced to do bad, because should they not do bad, or should they spill the beans of who is someone higher, who are the higher levels, back at home, there will be pain and the gnashing of teeth.
Andy Mashaile, thank you. Security strategist and retired Interpol ambassador. Some thoughts on that matter that has just been concluded in the Joburg High Court. Maybe it's something you know about, something you want to share a thought on. 072 702 1702.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Well, the other big story, of course, today has been the water protests in various parts of Gauteng. The one theme, I suppose, that does need exploring is when there are protests, and if they get significant and severe enough, things will be done. But are they temporary fixes, or do we have a sign and an indication that the fundamental problems are being are being tackled? Well, let's deal with that by welcoming to 702 Drive Dr. Ferriel Adam, who's Executive Director of WaterCan. Dr. Adam, thanks for giving us your time. It may well be, as it so often has been the case, after the Westbury protests, that the authorities will say, well, we are going to address this and we're going to fix that and we're going to supply water, maybe with tankers and so on. But it does raise a very fundamental question for me. Are the authorities in any reasonable time actually able to solve the Westbury problem? And I ask that not because it's an insoluble problem and therefore offering them a get-out-of-jail-free card, but with the resources they have, with the expertise they have, and the plans they have, realistically, is there any solution in sight for Westbury, Coronationville, and many more?
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your listeners. Yes, I mean, I think that there is a plan. The problem is, as you rightfully say, is that what that plan needs is it needs political commitment, and it needs funding, and it needs to be enacted. So one of the biggest obstacles right now for Joburg Water is the fact that there's this sweeping of funds arrangement with City of Joburg. So because City of Joburg is cash-strapped, they give money to Joburg Water, but at a whim, they can take that money back, and then Joburg Water can't pay contractors. So that impacts everything that Joburg Water does. It impacts the number of water tanks they can have. It impacts the fixing of, say, for example, the new Brixton Reservoir.
Right.
Work stopped on that because they couldn't pay the contractors. So this is the issue, is that the City of Joburg knows what they're doing. And, when the mayor says, I'm sorry, it's hard to believe it.
So to be absolutely clear, because the DG of Water and Sanitation, Dr. Sean Phillips, has been speaking about this, and government at a national level is saying Joburg Water's operations and money should be ring-fenced out of the city to prevent exactly what you're describing. If that were to happen, or if some arrangement, even if it wasn't a full legislative shift, was dealt with, would we see a very swift improvement and a much quicker resolution to the problems? Or are we still fighting an uphill battle?
I think we'd see some improvement, whether it's, remember, we're in a situation where I think this is a long-term solution, right? There's no quick fixes, no 6 months, we're all going to be fine. It's going to be quite a struggle for at least 2 to 3 years if we don't get the kind of funding we need at Joburg Water. And I do think that Joburg Water has, as part of the presidential working groups, we've seen the plans that they have in place. It makes sense. And we've asked external engineers, and they said that this looks like the right things to do, whether it is to add in a pump station, whether it's to fix particular reservoirs, etc. But this whole thing of the ring fencing of funding, by the way, was approved at council in December.
Yes.
But officials are dragging their feet to actually make this operational. And for as long as that happens, then we're going to have Joburg Water in the state that they are right now. But also, even without the ring fencing, if you're going to give Joburg Water a budget of, say, 1.2 billion or whatever for operation for capital expenditure, but you can remove like 500 million at the whim.
Yes.
You're basically constraining them on how they can pay their contractors, so you prolong the projects. There's so many, for example, the Hurst Hill 2 reservoir. The Hurst Hill 1 reservoir that is the cause of the mayhem that we're seeing, or the anger that we're seeing in Westbury. The Hurst Hill 1 reservoir has a crack at the base, so the water's bypassed. It's not even going into the reservoir, right? And the Hurst Hill 2, which feeds Emerentia, Greenside, those areas, can only fill to 40%, to 1.2 meters. So it's 40% filled. And that's for the large population of that area. So that reservoir, we've been told since last year that, okay, it's going to start fixing in March. They're going to start repairing in April. Now they're going to start repairing at the end of September. They've signed the contracts, and I believe that almost 50 contractors from Joburg Water side are being affected by this sweeping arrangement of funding from City of Joburg. So then contractors drop tools, and then it's just making this issue be prolonged. So instead of a 2-year kind of issue, we're looking at 5 years.
Dr. Ferial Adams, so much that we need to follow up on there. We did invite Joburg Water to come on, but indeed, and she calls it a sweeping arrangement where Joburg can just say, well, we'll take some of those funds from Joburg Water. It sounds absolutely unsustainable, an untenable situation. Dr. Ferial Adams, we thank her for her time Executive Director of WaterCan. By the way, on the subject of those water problems in Southwest, Garnet sends us this. I teach in Coronationville, and for the past 5 years that I'm there, we are lucky if a water truck ever comes out to our school. 29 minutes past 5.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you, John. Well, the JSE All Share ending the day up 0.35% at 103,588 points. Financials down 0.54, industrials down 0.32, financials down 0.7, and then resources, of course, a strong day again, up 2.75% on the day. That did help some of the gold shares that were up quite strongly through the day, Anglo Gold being one of them. Anglo as well, of course, still enjoying some momentum from that deal that they announced yesterday. They merger with Tech. And then Old Mutual shares ending up strongly after Old Mutual saying it's increasing its interim dividend by 9%. It'll implement a 3 billion rand share buyback as well. Remgro confirming their headline earnings will be up by around 40%. They say that's because of improved operational performances from their investee companies, also because of lower finance costs and a strong day for Growth Point. Their group operating profit was up by 5.5%. It has been boosted by an increase in like-for-like net property increases of over 6%, but John, also what you would call negative reversions. In other words, you'll get less rent for a property this year than you did last year. There is a sort of note about that. Pan-African Resources doing nicely, of course, out of record gold prices. Their profit for the year up by nearly 80%. Their price, just one of many gold miners that were up on the day, as you would expect. And then on the in the United States, so there was news today about producer price inflation that came on the back. That was lower than expected. That came on the back yesterday of the revision of jobs numbers. It was a massive revision, 911,000 fewer jobs being created than previously thought, really cementing the case for an interest rate cut next week. The Dow Jones is down 0.58%. The Nasdaq is up 0.46%. The S&P 500 is up 0.47%. Looking at the gold price at the moment, slightly lower than it was yesterday, $3,646.11 an ounce. Platinum, $1,390.50, and Brent crude slightly higher at $67.37. And then looking, of course, at the rand today, and just looking for the rand to the dollar at the moment is 17.47. To the euro is 20.50. To the British pound is 23.68. On the Money Show this evening, we'll speak to the CEO at Old Mutual, the CEO at Growth Point, the CEO at Pan-African Resources, and then John, a voice you've heard many times on the Money Show, Zwelaka Mguni. He's got an incredible backstory. You know, when I first started doing the Money Show, I'd heard of the legend of a person who started out as a security guard and now actually is the chief investment officer. Well, he's the person. He grew up in Sebokeng, and we'll speak to him about his journey as your shapeshifter this evening. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Interesting and inspiring stuff ahead on the Money Show, 6 to 8 at 28 minutes to 6. Time to get the latest eyewitness news. And we start off in Coronationville. Here's Mbali Dlamini.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Ambulances going into Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital in Coronationville are being diverted as a result of protest action over water shortages in the area. Frustrated residents have taken to the streets today, blocking roads with burning tires and rocks. The community says it has been without water for weeks now and is calling for urgent intervention. Earlier, private security and police fired rubber bullets at demonstrators, who then retaliated by throwing stones at them. Health Department spokesperson Motalitale Mudiba says traffic to the local hospital has been affected.
It does have an impact. It's making it difficult for our employees and the public to access the hospital. There are protests.
The DA has questioned government over spending more than 130 million rand on its case against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Minister for International Relations Ronald Lamola briefed Parliament's portfolio committees on international relations and cooperation as well as justice today on South Africa's case to find Israel guilty of the Rome Statute on Genocide. South Africa has already submitted its main arguments to the ICJ, alleging Israel has committed genocide in Gaza Gaza, several other countries, including Brazil, Spain, and the Republic of Ireland, have asked to intervene in that case, Carlo Peterson reports.
National Treasury recently allocated another 37 million rand to fund government's genocide case against Israel in the International Court of Justice, pushing government's expenditure on the case to more than 130 million rand. DA representative in Parliament's Portfolio Committee on International Relations and Cooperation, Ryan Smith, questioned the cost of the case.
What have we inflicted upon the people of South Africa in the greater international trade system and in terms of the greater international political economy? And how are South Africans paying the price for this going forward?
International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola insisted his department is committed to see the case through to its conclusion. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And in a step towards sustainable transport and a cleaner energy future nationwide, Eskom has launched its first fleet of electric vehicles. Led by its distribution division, the initiative follows the utility's August 2024 milestone of installing 10 charging stations across 5 sites. The launch event featured interactive demonstrations and test drives, highlighting some of the benefits like lower emissions, reduced operating costs and improved efficiency. Thanduluhle Ngcobo has the details.
Eskom has initially received 20 electric vehicles, which include a variety of light delivery vehicles and light trucks. Spokesperson Daphne Mokoena says another 100 vehicles is scheduled to arrive soon.
These vehicles will be deployed primarily in the distribution and generation divisions.
The organization says its vision is to gradually transition its entire fleet to electric vehicles, with the distribution division, which has the largest vehicle footprint, targeting full electrification by 2035. The power utility says it's also prioritizing the nation's grid readiness for e-mobility, including integrating EV load forecasting into long-term planning to effectively manage increased electricity demand. Thanduluhle Ngcobo, Eyewitness News.
A fine Thursday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 13 and 14 degrees and highs of between 26 and 32.
Constantia Kloof expect about a 20-minute delay heading towards Soweto N1 South between Bears, Nodia and Gordon Road. Also in Southgate, traffic pressure on the N12 westbound from Xavier to the Deep Kloof interchange, and in Chirina there's about a 30-minute delay on the Golden Highway, as well as Main Road between the N1 and the Joburg Correctional Services.
The top story in EWN, ambulances going into Rahima Musa Mother and Child Hospital in Coronationville are being diverted as a result of protest action over water shortages in the area.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
There was this personal finance for entrepreneurs clinic. There were all these certified financial planners that were sharing how to manage personal wealth alongside building a business. I'm curious as to if there is a way we can actually build our personal wealth by treating ourselves like businesses.
Well, that's exactly the message that we sort of get across to the business owners that we work with. So a big part of what we're doing with founder and entrepreneur clients is taking that mindset which they intuitively understand and applying it to their personal finances, setting those goals, being strategic, monitoring key metrics and helping them to move forward in terms of the project of their personal finances.
Rory Bratchner, founder of Dutch Guide.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
At the heart of global conversations shaping the future, Africa's voice matters more than ever. As Africa's largest bank by assets and lead sponsor of the B20 Summit, Standard Bank Group is proud to spotlight the continent's growth, partnerships and potential on the world stage. Through informed dialogue and powerful partnerships, Standard Bank is driving sustainable growth where it matters most. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Last orders coming through during your drive home or at midnight. Your customers check out whenever, wherever. With seamless payment integration and over 18 ways to get paid, PayFast by Network is built to keep up. And when it's time to grow, funding with Easy Advance helps you take the next step. Always open for late nights, for early starts, for you. Sign up today at payfast.io. PayFast has partnered with TimeBank to offer funding to your business.
If you want to know about the heart and art of jazz, look no further than the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz Festival, a grand ensemble of over 50 world-class acts across 4 stages for 3 whole days. That's right, from the 26th, 27th and 28th of September. The Sandton Convention Center will be demure and sophisticated as the fine Standard Bank Joy of Jazz 2025 takes you deep into the heart, the art and splendor of jazz. Take me there. Book your seat via Ticketmaster now.
Back by popular demand, legendary jazz icon Kenny G will be performing at the Super Bowl at Sun City on Friday, the 3rd of October. Get ready for an unforgettable night of timeless hits and pure musical magic. Get your tickets from webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Breakout Events and 702.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Yes, John, it's Thomas here. Yeah, you know, I've been saying it, I think I've said it even before here on 702, that when you go to these Chinese shopping centers, I would say 90% of the staff there, the people who work there, mainly it's Malawians, most of them, they're illegal. Like you can see, some are very young. You can see that they are illegal. So I'm glad one of the Chinese community members has highlighted this, because I've been saying it for a very, very long time. So let's hope now that immigration and SAPS and Home Affairs will attend to this. Thank you, John.
Good afternoon, John. Jacob from Amanskara. The last time I checked in terms of the law, we had something in this country called common law and common purpose and acting on common grounds. So I'm just saying, with the Chinese kidnappers, so-called, I think even the Malawians should be charged, because should they be found to be in the country legally, why would they get scot-free in this case? The fact that they were in this country illegally, they must have known, and in any case, ignorance of the law is no excuse. But I just want to find out what happened to the Malawians, because it seems like only the Chinese got punished in this case. But what happened now to the Malawians? This is Jack from Amaskara.
Yeah, I don't know the details of that. I mean, if they were to be charged, it would certainly be with a much lesser offence of being in the country legally. But what often happens is, if people are through a certain degree of illegality of their own, but mainly still victims of a much larger crime, often the police do plea bargaining. I don't know. It wouldn't be the police, but the courts would plea bargain and say, okay, tell us everything you know, help us put together a watertight and effective case, and then we will not prosecute you for that part of this particular crime that we could lay at your door. I don't know the ins and outs, but maybe somebody who knows the law better than me could call and give us some idea about that. A couple of you are getting in touch with us about this unclaimed money. Somebody anonymous says, can you please find out if I have money at a previous company I worked for? It's not something we do, but what we do is highlight ways in which you can go about doing this. So the website you need to go to is fsca.co.za. That stands for the Financial Sector Conduct Authority. And if you go to their website, there is a page, a drop that you click through to, that is called Unclaimed Benefits, and you get busy there. Obviously, we would love to help. We would love there to be a good outcome, but our help is pretty much in the nature of what it is we do, i.e. raising issues and guiding people in the right direction. We wouldn't get involved in your claim, as 702. So, yeah, I hope that helps. And if it helps and you have a good outcome, be sure to let us know. 702 Drive, 17 minutes now to 6.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, good afternoon again. A rather complicated drugs issue in the Springbok camp. you've got the details.
Yes, that's right. Good afternoon, John. We will start with that as media reports say that a Springbok prop, Asanati Nhlabakane, has been formally charged with a doping offence. South African Institute for Drug-Free Sports has charged the prop of taking a DHEA, a non-specific and performance-enhancing substance which carries a 4-year suspension. Crucially, Nhlabakane had declared the drug on a medical form, believing he was acting within the rules after clearing it with 2 separate doctors. In cricket, play begins at 7:30 in the Proteas' first T20 in the 3-match series against England. Captain Aidan Markram has spoken on the English.
Yeah, always a good team, always. Never going to play against England and it's going to be an easy game, so expecting it to be a really good challenge for us. Again, they've won heaps of white ball tournaments and sort of were the trendsetters at a stage, so looking forward to the series, to facing them and sort of their strengths that they bring to the table and sort of seeing where we are as a team against a really good opposition.
Switching to football, Bafana will need to repeat this international break's results and secure a win and a draw during next month's break in order to qualify for a first FIFA World Cup since hosting the tournament in 2010. Last night, they earned a hard-fought point in a 1-1 draw against Nigeria. Here's Coach Hugo Bruce.
We fight as much as our opponents. We were as much physical as our opponents. And I think that the result is the right result. None of the 2 teams deserve to win. But I think we do the best operation with this point. And now we need 1 victory. And we have 2 opportunities. So let's try to do it as soon as possible.
And Australia's Davis Cup captain Leighton Hewitt received a £14,000 fine and handed a 2-week ban for being found guilty of pushing a doping control officer. In November 2024, following a semi-final loss to Italy at the tournament, Hewitt pushed an anti-doping chaperone, citing self-defense. However, the International Tennis Integrity Agency reviewed the video evidence, witness statements and interviews and have come to the conclusion that the force used by Hewitt was excessive and his actions did not meet the requirements of self-defense. The ban starts the week after Australia's Davis Cup qualifier against Belgium, which means he'll still be able to captain his nation. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
This Eyewitness News Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. So we've heard about Melrose, now you've got some Soweto problems.
Yeah, that's generally if you're heading towards Soweto. Let me start in Constantia Kloof. Expect about a 20-minute delay on the N1 southbound. That's driving through Roodepoort between Bears, Nordia and Gordon Road. Excuse me, in Southgate, traffic pressure on the N12 westbound from Xavier to the Deep Kloof interchange. Also in the Naturina area, there's about a 30-minute delay on the Golden Highway, as well as Main Road between the N1 and the Joburg Correctional Services. This is all due to ongoing roadworks on the Golden Highway. In the Westbury area, several roads are closed off to traffic. This is due to protests. We understand there's police there on the ground trying to contain the situation, which has turned quite violent. Motorists have been advised to avoid that area. Roads affected include Perth Main Road, which becomes on Deckers, as well as Fuel and as well as Harmony Road. So try to avoid that those routes as possible. In Melrose, there's also about a 30-minute delay on Glenhove Road. This is between Oxford and the M1 due to ongoing roadworks, while in Sandton, leaving the Sandton area, traffic sluggish on Catherine Street between West Street and Greyston. And finally, in the Wadeville area, Germiston, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on Osborne Road between Dekema and the N17. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car full of groceries and a lady who will be attempting to make her mother-in-law's famous recipe for the family dinner tonight.
5 mils of sugar.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's butterflies and a potential bonding moment. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Right, let's do some music and have some fun. Now, often when we play music, we play it because we love it, but when we share music, often we're trying to say something about ourselves to friends or new friends or people that you don't quite know, but, you tell them, yeah, you ought to listen to this or that. And I've had wonderful times with strangers. Somebody's got access to a streaming service like Spotify. It happened on Saturday night when I was out in the Free State and just playing music and different people saying, oh, what about this song? What about? So it's great. However, Jonathan Fairbairn earlier today introduced me to the concept of guilty pleasures in the songs that you listen to. And those are the songs where you don't say, hey, guys, you got to hear this. I think this is great. But you kind of have a little listen to it on the down low, a little bit quietly on your own. So what's a guilty pleasure? Because I came up with some songs, Kabazela, that I said, oh, these are my guilty pleasures. And he said, no, they're not, because those are songs, like acceptable people would like.
Yeah,
so,
you picked, what was the one? Was
Take On Me by Aha.
By
Yeah.
Aha, which is a great song.
Yeah, and then Carly Rae Jepsen I picked, and that was dismissed. Call Me Maybe, I thought, is that a guilty pleasure? So I've had to dig some deep. Have you got one of your own? Because I do think I've got a winner here.
Yeah, I think yours takes the cake. So what we want, guilty pleasure songs, are the songs that you listen to secretly, maybe when you're in the car by yourself or you're at home and, there's nobody there. And it's not a song that you would play when you've got your chummies over for a braai, or it's not a song you're going to brag to people about and say, hey, this is a great song you got to listen to. So the more embarrassing the song, the better. Okay. Right, and we don't judge here. This is a safe space for songs.
So on the one hand, it's embarrassing, but on the other hand, we don't judge. Okay, you go figure it out. I'll give you some music. All right, let's take it down. And this is the song I picked up, which I can't even particularly remember. But anyway, I have a relationship with it. I need to acknowledge that, accept it. And if I'm to be embarrassed in the space where nobody is judged, so be it. Let's have Las Ketchup and the Ketchup song.
Friday night is party time, feeling ready, looking fine, viene Diego rumbeando. With the magic in his eyes, checking every girl inside, grooving like he does the mambo. And he's an arena in la disco, playing sexy, feeling hotter, he's the king, bailando ritmo ragatanga. And the DJ that he knows well on the spot, always around, so plays the mix that Diego mezcla con la salsa. Y la baila, and he dances, y la canta. Hacer ha, dejebe tú, dejebe de ser, vi uno mamá, bien de boogie and de wiggy hacer ha, dejebe tú, dejebe de ser, vi uno mamá, bien de boogie and de wiggy hacer ha, dejebe tú, dejebe de ser, vi uno mamá, bien de boogie and de wiggy. Many think it's brujeria, how he comes and disappears, every move will hypnotize.
Well, listen, I was in good company with this one. According to Wikipedia, the song reached number 1 in every country it charted, except for the United States and Croatia. In the US, it peaked at number 54. Well, who cares? And number 10 in Croatia. In France, the song was at number 1 for 11 weeks. It was the best-selling single of 2002. So who's going to argue with the 50-odd million people who live in France? But seriously, or not so seriously, let's get that song that you kind of regard as a slightly guilty pleasure. If you like it, you kind of think, well, I probably shouldn't like it. And if I do like it, I'm not going to tell a whole lot of people about it. Las Ketchup, one more time.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Panyaza Lesotho announced the other day that they are going to go to informal settlements, most of which are inundated with illegal foreign nationals. Do you support the idea of actually going out to informal settlements where you know they are mostly illegal immigrants and take them to Lindela and they must be taken home?
We support the idea of removing people that are illegally occupying spaces that they're not supposed to be occupying. But then also it should not just be for show. It should not just be a 5 minutes thing that, you know, we are seen to be doing something for the camera, but after a week or two or a month, we're back to square one because then we haven't done anything.
Solim Simanga.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star, is back. With just one ticket, experience unforgettable music, mouth-watering food, bold fashion, and vibrant art. From Saturday 20 to Sunday 21 September, celebrate with friends and bring the family for a picnic on Sunday. This year, DSTV celebrates 30 years with international headliners, SA's hottest talent, and a feast that's as big as the vibe. It's Africa's biggest music and food festival. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star and supported by 702. More at deliciousfestival.com.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
In a world where traffic is the enemy of progress, one man is in a race against time, through the noise, through the chaos, chasing something no GPS could find.
Accident detected ahead. Expect a 30-minute delay.
Not today, sweetheart. Not today. Write your own story with the Haval H7 from only $6,799 per month. Visit gwm.co.za for T's and C's and to book a test drive. Brought to you by GWM Finance, a division of Westbank, an authorized financial services and registered credit provider.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi John, this is Maremo from Soshangube. I'm 45 and one of my favorite songs is Oskido featuring Syndicates. I think that song is like kids dancing, but yeah, it's one of those that you can't even play for your friends because yeah, it's kids singing there and dancing. So okay, sure.
Guilty Pleasure songs. This from James in Constantia Cliff. My guilty pleasure song is Push It by Salt and Pepper. Let's listen. Salt and Pepper, Push It. Let's talk to Jenny in Welkom. Jenny, you're going back into the 70s for your guilty pleasure song. What you got?
Exactly. I'm going back to the 60s.
Rhinestone Cowboy by Glenn Campbell.
Okay.
We played, I had my music on the car on a road trip.
Yes.
And this came on, and everyone in the car except me was in stitches. I have never, ever again played it in front of anybody. And it took me a while to see that everybody was just laughing at me. So that's my guilty pleasure.
Okay. Well, I'm hoping you're alone, Jenny, because we are going to play it again. Glenn Campbell. By the way, this got Grammy nominations, numerous awards at the Country Music Association. So not everybody laughed when Glenn Campbell sang about the Rhinestone Cowboy.
Walking these streets so long, singing the same old song. I know every crack in these dirty sidewalks of Broadway, where hustle's the name of the game, and nice guys get washed away like the snow and the rain. There's been a load of compromising on the road to my horizon, but I'm gonna be where the lights are shining on me.
Glenn Campbell, Mkolisi says, my song is the Pet Shop Boys, Go West. What's embarrassing about that? That's a good pop song. Let's have one more.
Guilty pleasure, definitely Enya, Caribbean Blue. Oh boy.
Okay, we thought we had it. We don't have it. So you'll have to have your guilty pleasures at home alone. A couple of others. Sanjay refers to the Rodriguez song, I Wonder. Again, some people say, what's the guilty pleasure about that? But it's all in the eye of the listener, isn't it? Glenn, Rainbow Connection, Kermit the Frog. Haven't heard that. Bongani, Because I Got High by Afro Men. And there are so many more we'd love to play, and so many of your messages we'd love to share. But we're out of time. I'm John Perlman. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa CIB, equipping you with efficient and secure cash management solutions for your business. Good evening. On your Money Show tonight, Old Mutual generates a ton of cash, but wants more focus and is spending 1.6 billion rand on its new bank. Growth Point boosts